All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and we are back with another episode of the Fighting Pit podcast. We're starting this week off with a little, very special pre-recorded segment, doing some Mercenary reveals, courtesy of Blizzard Play Hearthstone. Really big shout out to them and Alkali and the rest of the community team for doing something special for the Mercs reveal stuff this time around. I think it's been really well received by the community, and I know we're really happy and excited to be a part of it. So this, like I said, little pre-recorded segment here. We could get this as nice and neat for all of you to get the best viewing experience possible. One minor little disclaimer before we get into it here. We did have to essentially recreate these mercenaries in our own little custom template. And because of that, some of the art on the items is not necessarily going to be the same art that we see in the game. However, the art you will see for the skills should be the exact art that we will see when these characters launch tomorrow. So just wanted to get that little disclaimer out there. But yeah, we put a lot of work into this, and I'm really excited to talk about these characters. This is just going to be a shorter segment where we go over, reveal them, just one or two little initial thoughts, and then if you want to see the full kind of deep dive into what we think about the characters, talking about some of the other characters that got revealed by our fellow Mercenaries creators, and all that good stuff, stay tuned for the full episode. This will be going up on YouTube as its own little shorter clip thing, and then there will be the full episode afterwards. And obviously, if you're watching this live, after this little section ends, we will be going into the full live discussion. So yeah, really appreciate all the support from the community. Means a lot to us. Really excited to do this. If you enjoy it, do remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good social media stuff, as it really does help show the company that these kind of reveals are something worth their time and effort. And especially compared to regular card reveals, Mercenaries reveals can be a little bit more complicated because it's a lot more assets and all that kind of stuff. So definitely worth showing that it's worth that little bit of extra effort. But we're going to get into it here. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we dive on into these reveals?
Yeah, I'm just really happy about basically getting the whole reveal and everything. And just thank you to, the whole community that's been supporting us. We've been doing this for almost about a year now, I'd say. Probably about 9 months or so?
Yeah, 10 months.
We've been getting up there. So I just want to say, thank you to everyone. Kind of led us to having this big reveal and everything. And I hope you guys all enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I mean, same thing. Just it's super cool to get these kind of world first achievements in that kind of way. It's a really cool feather in our hat, and it's for the whole community as well. So I think I also speak for all of us when I say that these are probably some of the coolest mercenaries that we've seen so far. And I think we haven't seen the other amount that is going to be dropped as well yet. So if those hold up, this winter and fall is going to be just nonstop action for mercenaries. So it's I'm super excited, and I hope you guys will be too.
Yeah, so hopefully you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's get into the reveals.
Hey everyone, it's WizardBeast here. We'll be reviewing a new mercenary. He is Blonsandi. He is an epic mercenary who is a troll fighter. He has 3 attack and 89 life. First ability is Soul Subjugation. It is 9 speed and shadow. Deals 28 damage, but it has deal 3 less damage for each time this was damaged this turn. Second ability, Irrefusable Deal, 1 speed and a shadow ability, and this is choose one of Basandi's deals, increase the cooldown of this ability by 1. So it is just like we've seen with Sir Finley, and it has 3 choices when you pick this. All of them still at 1 speed, and all of them are shadow. First one is Deal of Time. All abilities with initial speeds of 5 or faster are 5 speeds slower next turn, and all others are 5 speed faster. The second choice for this ability is Deal of Vanity. Gain 5 health, and then all enemy abilities this turn target this if possible. And third part of the ability is Deal of Fear. This takes no damage this turn, and then return all mercs to the bench at the end of turn. So that's his 3 deals. His third ability is Binding Contract, 2 speed, shadow, and has 2 cooldown. Deal 12 damage to an enemy. If this merc dies this turn, deal 90 more. So it has a chance to do over 100 damage. Then onto his equipment. First one is Arena Contender. Battle Cry. This merc's abilities refresh 2. And Death Rattle. Your abilities refresh 2. Second equipment, New Client, which is a Death Rattle. Resurrect one of your mercs. that died this game with 24 health remaining. So finally we have a resurrect for someone else. And then third equipment, Spirit of the Dead. Passive, after one of your characters die, restore 7 health to your trolls. So it's nice to have some troll synergy. So going into this Merc a little bit more, by far his second ability is my favorite. With all these different deals, it is so cool to see the design of this mercenary basically be kind of all over the place with so many different things he can do. I mean, especially with the first one, having all abilities with initial speeds of 5 or faster are 5 speeds slower next turn, and all others are 5 speed faster. It is so cool to see basically more improvement for slower abilities and having a different playstyle instead of just speed wins the game, which we've seen for many metas. So this is a nice ability to kind of just play around that and be a lot better overall, because you can set up for your next turn and basically you have ability, say your enemies were all at like say even 0 speed, all of them would go to 5, and if as long as yours were 6 or higher, all of them would get -5. So if they were all at 0, they would all go to 5, and if all of your abilities say were 6 speed next turn, then all of those would go down to 1. So it's nice to kind of have a nice setup turn and flip the tables on himself and have solar abilities finally have a chance at actually being very strong, because normally they can hit pretty hard. And I mean, even his second ability is really good too. Just gain life and then all enemy abilities target this if possible. Like that is very strong. We've seen with Reno, who can do it on a single target without his equipment, and that can just be game winning on saving some mercenaries. So being able to do that is great. But even the third part, which I really like, you can use this as a predict, like, hey, maybe they're going to try and kill him this turn. You can do it where he takes no damage this turn at 1 speed, so most likely before almost any ability, and then return all mercs to the bench at end of turn. So it is really cool to see basically a new feature where instead of like sending one back, where we've seen with like Maev and other characters, you finally have just a full kind of reset. So it can enable so many more battle cries, or even just switching up and bringing in new mercs. Maybe you want to trick your opponent and bring in 3 new mercenaries or mix up your teams and everything. So I'm really just excited for his play style and everything. But we'll go more into detail on our podcast live. So if you want to hear more thoughts of mine and also my other co-host of Mullahoo and Zombies, make sure to join us and check in there.
All right, Zombies here, and we have Gen Greymane. I was super excited when I saw this one, as I am a pretty big wild player and I've been playing a lot of even shaman with Gen. He's really iconic over there, and I am super stoked that we're getting him in Mercenaries, and he is one of the coolest designs I think we have ever seen in the mode, especially when it comes to a transformation character. So let's take a look at what he does here. So Gen Greymane is a human protector, 12 attack, 89 HP. Looking at his abilities, he has Blistering Bullet, which is 2 speed, no cooldown, deal 12 damage, transform into a worgen, and this is a fire ability. Then he has Space Maker, deal 18 damage, gain +3 attack at 6 speed, and this is also another fire ability. And then he has a summon for his third ability, Beastly Beauty, 4 speed, 1 cooldown, Taunt. Battlecry, give your other human and worgen +4/+6, and she is a 15 attack, 20 HP human summon. Then we'll look at his equipment here. So we have Blood Moon, Battlecry, gain +7 attack, transform into Gen's other form. So really cool. We have a way of him transforming right off the bat, or if you're swapping him in off the bench. Then we have Smooth Transformation, end of turn, transform into Gen's other form and gain +8 health. And then last but not least, we have Galean Strength, passive. After one of your characters casts an even speed ability, restore 10 HP to them. That's really cool, and if you might notice, all of his abilities are actually even costed, so super awesome theme there. We have more abilities to talk about here because he is not just human, but also a worgen. So first time we're seeing a worgen here, and he has 3 different abilities for this transformation. So this is kind of like the craziest transformation we've seen yet. Just a clarification, these are placeholder arts. The art in game will probably be different for these abilities. First, we have Moonlight Strike, 2 speed, 0 cooldown. Deal damage equal to this Merc's attack, transform into a human. So we have the way of transforming back and forth. Ankle Breaker, attack an enemy. It's 5 speed slower while this is a human. So really cool kind of way to mess with speeds while you're swapping back and forth. And then Beautiful Beast, charge. Battlecry, give your other human and worgen +6/+4, 20 attack, 15 health, worgen tribe. This is just a huge flavor win. This character is awesome. It feels so thematic, and it's also cool because this is the first time we're seeing charge in Mercenaries. Now, I imagine they wouldn't put something like charge in Mercenaries if it was just going to be the same as rush, so I'm guessing that maybe we can aim this. Maybe we can actually target where this attack is going, and that's kind of the difference between rush, which is what we've seen on all the other summons that attack right away, and of course they have the Hearthstone kind of werewolf worgen flavor of swapping the stat bonuses as well as swapping the attack and the health depending on the form. But yeah, I absolutely love this. This is one of the coolest designs I think they've ever made in Mercenaries, and it really does something I've wanted them to do more of, which is giving us a lot more variety and depth in our choices. Instead of just being locked into 3 different skills and being kind of limited by those, now we have a character who essentially has 6 different skills all in one mercenary, and I think that's fantastic.
All right, hello everybody, this is Mullahoo, and I've managed to slow roll myself and save my first interaction with ya girl, Ysera. And so I've only seen what the abilities do at their basic number. I have not yet seen the maximum number. I have not seen the equipment. I have not seen the dream. This is my first go. So, Ysera, finally, a nature dragon, legendary fighter, 8 attack, 84 health. Our first ability is Verdant Breath at 6 speed. It's a nature ability. Deals 12 damage to an enemy. Restore that much health to another friendly dragon. Honestly, a little Anduin ability, but a little bit slower and better tag in terms of not human. Second ability, Emerald Dream. Choose a dream card to cast. Okay, and I have not seen what these are, and they are Ysera Awakens. Deals, so 5 speed, 1 cooldown to choose the dreams. Ysera Awakens is deal 20 damage to all enemies and 5 damage to all other friendly characters. That's quite powerful. Nightmare, give a character 30 attack. At the end of each turn, they take 20 damage. Okay, that is much better than a lot of other abilities. Plus 30 is a ludicrous number, but I guess you have to be able to attack afterwards. That's actually kind of interesting. And then the final dream is the Drake, the summon. Still 5 speed, to summon a dragon that is a 25/20 with rush. So not too bad, but certainly the weakest, I would say, of the different abilities within the dreams, but not bad. Those other 2 are quite juicy. Our third ability is Emerald Oracle. 4 speed, 1 cooldown, again a nature ability, so keep in mind Malfurion with all these. Restore 20 health to a Merc, choose one. Their next ability is 5 speed faster, or return them to the bench. Huh. Okay, I will come back to that. The 3 equipment. First up, Ysera's Vengeance. Verdant Breath deals 5 more damage, so you can make your penance there. That first ability deals 17 and heal 17, but obviously it can crit and end up healing 34, so that's actually quite juicy. I'm pretty sure penance actually didn't do the same amount on Anduin that it dealt. It just always did a flat amount, so that's quite powerful. Second equipment, Dream Infusion. Passive, after one of your character dies, restore 7 health to your dragons, so this is actually just like the Blansamdi equipment. Not bad. We actually have a couple parallels in this already with some of the other dragons, but with tons of summoned dragons, that can certainly go pretty crazy. And our third equipment here is Emerald Majesty. Ysera Awakens, so one of that first dream, also restores 15 health to this mercenary. Okay, not bad. So, okay, the first big takeaways for me are the Verdant Breath is actually quite strong. And honestly, that first equipment that makes the Verdant Breath add more damage is probably going to be one of the better equipments. Obviously, the full dragon comp would love to see just whenever a dragon dies, heal 7. But if you're not actually playing with Nefarian to summon extra dragons, and multiples of them in some cases with regularity, not sure how much good the second equipment is going to be. And Ysera Awakens healing for 15 on this character seems maybe a little unnecessary. It's obviously quite a nasty AoE, but the straight up an additional 5 damage, which can translate to another 5, 10 healing in some cases, and it's the only ability that doesn't have a cooldown, so you'd have to imagine that Ysera is actually quite interested in opening for many comps, and so to actually get your opener ability, that Verdant Breath, to have more damage, sounds pretty juicy to me. But honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about is whether or not Emerald Oracle, this third ability, can put an opponent's Merc onto their bench, because you can heal for 20 and potentially just bounce them at 4 speed, or with Malfurion at 1 speed. That combo alone gets me extremely excited about this character, and the fact that you can obviously heal your own Merc and speed them up, we start to get a kind of a 4-speed Admiral Rogers kind of speed up, or almost like, again, a mini kind of endurance aura, but only for a single Merc, and we know how powerful that can be. Toss the heal on top of it, and that's quite juicy. So very exciting, and honestly, the nature tag, I was loving it. I was asking for it, and the dreams sound great. That Emerald Oracle ability could be cracked, and Dragon Comp is looking a little bit better. So I'm excited, and we'll go more in depth into all of this and combos and more, and the way that it combines with all the other Mercs live on our podcast. So stay tuned, check out the videos, and swing by for the live if you want to come ask some of your own questions or have some of your own questions answered. So thanks a lot, guys, and we will see you soon.
All right, and that brings us to our final mercenary reveal here, a Murloc Holmes. So pretty much I think everyone expected this. Really awesome to see another red Murloc joining Finley in the Murgle ranks. So Murloc Holmes is a protector Murloc, 13 attack, 87 health, and his first ability here, hot on the case, gain +5 attack and attack an enemy. It takes critical damage after it acts next turn, and this is a fire spell school ability.
His second ability is Elementary, and it is 3 speed with 1 cooldown. It is give a character Divine Shield. If they lose it this turn, they gain +5, +10, and attack the enemies opposite of them, and this is also a nature ability.
The third ability is, and the killer is, another Discover, essentially, which we've seen in a lot of our new mercenaries, which is awesome. Deal 16 to an enemy, and then make a prediction for a bonus. The 3 predictions you can make are first to arrive. If it acted first this turn, deal 16 more damage, and they act last next turn, last on the scene. If it acted last in combat, then you AoE the enemies for 10 damage. And then the final prediction is obviously the murderer after dealing 16 damage. If that merc, at any point presumably throughout the game, when they destroy 2 mercenaries, it takes 80 damage.
That's really crazy, and it's awesome seeing them keeping the kind of the bonus prediction effect. Really love that. And keeping with the flavor stuff, we have the items here. So first one is Trusty Sidekick. Battlecry, summon a 1230 Watfin who attacks enemies who damage your Murloc Holmes. And presumably Watfin will obviously be a Murloc as well.
And for the second equipment is Paid Up Front. Battlecry, gain +4/+4, and this Merc's abilities refresh 1, so then you can use any ability turn 1.
Final equipment is Suspect Everyone, where they now have a passive machine gun that says after an enemy casts a 4, 5, or 6 speed ability, Murloc Holmes deals 8 damage to them, and it can crit. So a crazy amount of damage that can come out of an equipment.
Yeah, really love this character. The Murlocs have gotten a lot better with the addition of Finley. They really needed that one more red, and now we have another Murloc that also cares about stats and attacking, which we've seen for the tribe is something that's really beneficial. Just absolutely huge flavor win. Really cool seeing supporting multiple different spell school tribes like fire and nature, as well as obviously the Murlocs, and a lot of diversity in what the items and almost more importantly, sometimes the equipments. Like, these are all great equipments that can kind of have you use Murloc Holmes in a variety of different ways depending on the build you're running him in.
Yeah, and the cool thing too, as you were saying, there's a lot of different builds you can run him in. Like first there's Murloc, and then if you look at his abilities, he has a fire ability on his first one. His second one's also nature. And then with all of his different equipments, as you were saying, you can kind of choose in between any of them. Like you can get basically just another summon that's good with decent stats. You can buff him up more. And I really like that second equipment because just increasing his stats, he would become a 1791 then. And then refresh all abilities, so then you can have 3 options turn 1, which I think is always a cool playstyle to have instead of just, oh, this character only has 1 ability turn 1. It's nice to see diversity in the abilities and how you might play them in different games with having more options open.
Definitely.
Yeah, the fact that we've seen multiple different equipment now that kind of give us a refresh as an option on your equipment is always going to be a powerful equipment, right? We've talked upside down and backwards about how taking a cooldown from 1 to 0 is just gigantic. But again, refresh is a great way to make it so you can start with it and then it goes on cooldown. But I mean, my God, turning all of these, I mean, that's the equipment that I go to first is truly this Paid Up Front, where you can, the option to just open with, give the Divine Shield, give it stats and make them double attack is so good in the Murloc deck already, where it loves Divine Shields. You get the bonuses for triggering Divine Shields again. The stats are awesome. The attacking is awesome. enemies opposite from us. We've seen so frequently on how regularly that can hit 2 enemies and just do ludicrous amounts of damage. I'm very impressed with this character, honestly. I think all of the recent Murlocs have really been a step up.
For sure. And this is just our initial reveal, of course. So we're going to talk a lot more about all of these characters, what we think about their potential, what they might work well with, as well as the other characters that have been revealed in the Mercenaries community earlier today. But that is going to be in the rest of the episode after our little pre-recorded segment here. So if you're watching live, stay tuned. It's going to be coming at you right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, the full episode will be going up later on the same day after we finish doing it live. And if you're catching this right after it went up, we should be live right now. So check the link in the description to check that out. As always, if you want to support these kind of mercenary community reveals, it is super helpful if you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Really shows Blizzard that this kind of stuff is worth doing for the future. So hopefully they do it again and they can expand these reveals to more creators in the community.
Yeah, thanks for everyone tuning in, joining, and we'll also be posting these up on Twitter too, so you guys can check through there and just interact with all of it. And as Zombie was saying, it would be great just to have basically more reveals for more content creators and have more support for this mode. So thanks for everyone joining in.
Thank you, thank you. Get your theory crafts a bustling. We want to see him in chat, so see you soon.
All right, there we go. Unmute Discord. All right, cool. Here we are. Yeah, so hopefully everybody enjoyed those. I know we enjoyed talking about them, revealing them. Just so cool characters. Like, I mean, all the other ones we've seen that we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about these ones a bit more in depth. It's just, they really did knock it out of the park with this drop. It just feels so much more deep than pretty much anything we've got before. There are a few more reveals going on today, which should be happening in maybe the next 10-ish minutes on the Mercenaries Discord, so keep your eyes out over there. And we are going to be revealing those live on stream as well. But I figured we would start talking about just some of the ones we just revealed. Do you guys have any preference on what we want to talk about first?
I'm fine just going if we just want to go back through order.
Yeah, we can go back in order. Yep, let me pull them up here.
Bonsandi.
Yeah.
I'm so psyched for him. You know, he's been one of my favorite characters in WoW and everything with his lore, and I feel like they just did his deals perfectly. So I'm really excited for like all three of those too are like good deals that you can use in so many different cases.
We got our little overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean the deals being 1 speed. Yeah, and someone had asked earlier in the chat too. The first deal that you cast has no cooldown, but then every time you use it, the cooldown increases. So obviously, I mean, you have ways to reset that, and even the fact, presumably, even if the cooldown carries over into the bench, if you do the version, if you cast the deal where you kind of upheaval the board and pick up every mercenary and put them back, if you're using that Arena Contender Battlecry refresh, you'll play him again, and immediately you'll be able to deal again. I don't know what stops you from just looping that, I suppose, but
yeah, you can do it 3 times in a row if you want.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Cooldown.
You just
I love that one. But and the cool thing is there's so many ways to play around him, because you have a first just high damage ability that you can do, but it's like, do you even target him? Because if you do, he has one deal where he just takes no damage that turn if he does it, and then even the binding contract, like say, hey, you don't want to deal with his deals, but he has the refresh, he could do binding contract on someone, big red, say like Trigor or Yasar, smacks into him and kills him, and then he literally just kills them back.
Yeah,
like 90 damage right there on top of the 12. That's 102 damage without crit. That is the highest damage ability we've seen in the game right now.
Yeah,
so that single ability could it just lays anyone out that kills them.
It's neat.
So I'm just stoked with it.
It's really, really cool, and definitely want to talk about the deals. I'm just trying to get the image up for them here. But the deals are so freaking awesome. I mean, anyone who's been around here before knows how much I've been advocating for a Trick Room-like effect for anyone familiar with Pokemon, where it kind of does a little bit of a reverse on the speeds. And let me see if I can get the deals up here real fast. But reversing speed, so slow is fast and fast is slow, that's exactly the kind of thing I want to be seeing. And
I'm surprised we got it already, honestly. I didn't expect that to come this soon.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure either. But all of these deals are so good. Like, this adds so much in terms of mind games, because they could pick literally any of these on turn 1, and you have to play around them very differently. Like, the fact that he has basically just an ability taunt, we've already seen how strong spell taunt was on Reno, and the fact that everything targets him. You could use him defensively, you could use him as kind of a setup with the Deal of Time, or you can use it to enable swap-ins, which we've never seen this opportunity to basically reset the whole board, and both you and your opponent can send out different mercenaries. You can send out the same ones, you can send out ones from your bench. There's just a lot of potential with this. And I also really love that even though he's Shadow, it doesn't feel like he naturally combos with Vol'jin like every other Shadow character we've seen, because you don't necessarily want him to be super fast, because his Deal of Time, it impacts your characters too, right? So if you're fast from Vol'jin, that's going to be a negative. So I really like, and he's also a troll, which is really neat, because if we look back at his regular abilities here, we got quite a few, like, we have a few other trolls that are coming in this drop, and Kazakis specifically, also a troll. You may notice the troll ability, it's whenever a character dies, restore 7 health to your trolls. So you could just restore 21 health a turn with Kazakis golems, just rushing in and dying and then restoring all your trolls' health. It's just really cool, and the thing I love most about this drop in general is it feels like we're getting a lot of support for tribes that just really needed it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's cool how they're building up on the troll tribe too. You know, they only had 2 trolls, I think, before this, which was what,
I think
Vol'jin
so.
and Voon?
Vol'jin, Voon, and
We've got
Kazakis,
four now,
yeah.
So yeah, now we got 4 of this one, so it's
And
cool
maybe
how we
more
got that
depending
added up.
on what else is in this drop potentially. I think the only last thing to kind of mention as well is this new client equipment. There are some questions about it. We don't exactly know how it works, and we did copy paste the exact wording from that. The meme is that trolls spell resurrect with 2 S's, but can Bwansamdi resurrect themselves with new client? If you kill Bwansamdi as your first merc, will it just pick itself back?
Brukan's also a troll.
Oh yeah, Brukan.
So
Everyone
we
forgot
don't
about
exactly
Brukan.
know how that's going to work, and apparently people have been talking about there's some more Death Rattle synergy in some of the other mercs that have dropped. But that equipment again has a lot of really funky stuff that again we can't answer yet, and I do like that about Mercenaries sometimes, where we'll get all the information like this, and we still won't know how to play it. We still won't know exactly how it works. So it will only take people actually getting out there and throwing down on the streets to figure out how good that second equipment is, because all 3 of them feel quite powerful when it comes to the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I love. I love when there's actually this level of depth to decision where, depending on what you're running him in, it's better to use a different equipment. It's not just Valera's Unnatural Smoke. It's not just Vol'jin's Ring of Haste, where, well, this is clearly the best by a mile. You run it on any build you're running that character. Like, no, these are much more build around, and I think we've seen them kind of learn from that, and with some of the recent buffs where they try and flesh out the equipment a bit more, and it's really the direction I want to see the game keep going in, because like, Mercenaries has always been a little limited by the fact that when you compare it to something like Pokemon, only having 3 skills and then 3 items, there are only so many different choices you can make a lot of the time. But now that we're getting more discovers, we're getting more items where they vary on how powerful they are in a specific build, it's really opening up that door to, when you see Bwansamdi, you might, like, he could be totally different than your opponent's Bwansamdi, depending on the build you're running him in. And that is going to really just change, I think, the overall metagame and play experience in a very positive way. Yeah, I'll show the deals again here. But yeah,
the fact that
they're so
somebody
good.
can shoot, like, I love these mercenaries that can kind of, again, like we've been talking about a lot, that aren't just kind of one button, one equipment, and I mean, literally all 4 of our mercenaries have more than 4 or 5 abilities. Like, when you actually look at how many buttons you can specifically click, the fact that you can have mercenaries basically shoot high, shoot middle, or shoot low, that opportunity alone is just gonna just completely reinvigorate the meta in terms of how these matchups are going to go, how individual turns will go, and again, the skill expression, the skill ceiling for this game is going to skyrocket once again.
Yeah, no, I love it, because just like literally, we got 3 mercs that have 5 abilities, and then Greymane has 6. So all of our mercs have at least 5 for the ones that we've seen. And the best thing too is a lot of these, equipments that we saw with refresh, Bassani, he could basically have 5 different abilities on turn 1. Like, your opponent basically can't predict it most of the time unless you're running a certain comp. So it's nice instead of just having, oh, I only have this one button I can do turn 1, doesn't matter. So he can only have 5 different choices on turn 1. I just love that.
Yeah, it really adds just so much depth to the game, and I think that's what we kind of needed. You know, I think it really is. It really is. I mean, at least what I really wanted out of the game is someone who focuses on PvP stuff. But I mean, it's also good for PvE to have more options, because then you can have a bit more diversity in how you go about taking down some of the bosses and stuff. So it's just like a net win to the overall experience of playing the game. And I hope we see more of this in the future. But looking at when we recorded the little pre-recorded segment, we hadn't seen any of the other characters that have been released today. So we kind of just assumed they were going to be pretty deep like ours, and looking at some of them, which we'll do a little bit later on this episode, I think that was a pretty safe assumption. It seems like there is a lot of depth and just a lot of really interesting design space being explored that really we haven't seen to the same level before in Mercenaries. So I'm super duper excited to get hands-on playing with these characters tomorrow. It's just really, really great. Part of me wishes we had a little bit of like theory crafting time, but at the same time, I think it's awesome that we get to see it. We get to spend today, you know, hyping it up, coming up with some ideas, and then tomorrow, boom, we have access. So I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, because I mean, that is a cool thing. We also, you know, got patch notes coming out in about 5 hours or so too. So it'll be
There could
cool
be
to
the
see
coin
everything
sticks in
else.
there. There could be, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. So here we're gonna switch to Gen now. So this is the one I was like really, really thrilled about, because I've been playing a bunch of Wild. I played a bunch of Even Shaman in the Brawl and some other things, and Gen is awesome. Like, he's such a cool character, and I really love, like, they just nailed the flavor. They really did just, and the patch notes thing, they're releasing a little bit later than normal. It's 3 p.m. PST today, so a little bit later than normal, but that kind of works out anyway. But I really, really love these abilities, and this is the coolest transformation we've ever seen. Like, it's so thematic, it's so interesting. You could even run him in a fire comp in theory, because he has these 2 fire abilities, so you could like trigger your Baron Geddon. Personally, the thing I'm most excited for, I think, is either in humans or in an even ability focused comp. No, we don't have the Watfin token art, unfortunately. I don't think anyone got the token art, so we'll have to wait for either the patch notes or the patch tomorrow to see what that ends up looking like. But yeah, so just all of his abilities are even, which is really, really cool, and his passive is so neat. Like, the fact that you're just getting this like cool heal on all your characters, or what's it? When the character uses the ability, they get the health restored. There's some really interesting things you can do with this, because like, we've never really had to look at Mercs speeds in a way where we cared about if it was odd or even before. So that's going to add like a whole new element in terms of combinations, as opposed to just being like, oh, are they in the same tribe, or do they just have some like natural tribal synergy? So I really, really like that, and it's just so thematic with the summons he has, which are really, really cool. How the human buffs up. Yeah, very strong. You get a taunt when he's a human, and then we can look at his Worgen form here. Oh, that's not it. Here he is. So it gets charged, and we have not seen charge before in Mercenaries, so I'm assuming that maybe we get to target this, because Rush has always been random for summons, so maybe charge is a targeted attack, which could be very, very powerful. Also, I love the flavor of swapping from +4, +6 as a human to +6, +4. It's kind of like how Hearthstone has been doing their werewolf warging kind of stuff. And it's really neat. Ankle breaker too, where you basically apply a debuff to an enemy for when he's in the human form. So you have to actually think about, you know, when am I swapping to the different forms? You can actually start on Worgen form if you have one of the equipment and gain some extra attack. This also matters a lot for characters like we saw, like Bon Samdi and others, who can involve bouncing characters to the bench, because then you can repeat that battle cry. So it's just really cool.
Yeah, no, I really like the design, and even like as you were saying, his equipment's like it's cool how they finally. I feel like this is the first transform character that they've done right. Like it's dealing damage on its transform
Playable.
with its first ability, and then he has two equipments that work perfectly with it. You know, you got the battle cry to instant go into the other form, or even just the end of turn. You're getting +8 health at the end of turn every time, and then transforming. So like as you were saying, with like ankle breaker, you can do that, and then you transform it in turn, so they're already slowed on the next turn because you're already in human form. So I feel like he's really cool how you can just kind of play around with him.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. I love seeing a new tribe, and it's great getting some of these characters who are iconic in other formats like standard or wild and stuff, because I think that's a great way to get people into the game. Is just like, hey, I recognize these characters. This is a character I really liked. Maybe I'll enjoy messing around with it in Mercenaries. Like it's a great way to potentially get more people to give the mode a try, especially since we have one of the longest awaited features coming up in about a month after tomorrow's patch, Exodus Coin Exchange. So it's a really good time to be a Mercenaries player, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, it's just.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's just a great time, having all of this come out, and then yeah, finally, we've been asking for the extra coins and everything to be fixed, and yeah, within a month, which after having this drop, I feel like it's gonna come by really quick. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, like between farming up and trying out so many different things in PvE and PvP, I think the time is going to fly by. We don't know about the Worgen having different portraits. He should have, although typically with transformations in Mercenaries, there's usually only one transformation portrait. However, since this is kind of a unique thing, it's possible it could have more, but we don't really know. Do we think the cooldown on ability 3 rolls over between forms? Great question. I have no idea. I do not know the answer to that one. Some of this stuff, Mercs in general is just, I said this before, like, it is way more complicated to put together the reveals for this than revealing a standard card or something, or even like a Battlegrounds character. So there's just a lot of information that they did a good job in giving us a lot of. They gave us like quite a lot of information, but some of this stuff is just hard to know until you try it out in game. And yeah, so we got the last 2 reveals on Discord too. I believe that's all 14 revealed. Prince Malcazar and Tess Greymane, both protectors.
Sounds like a demon.
Yep, that's really cool. They're doing Malcazar. Malcazar is like a really old iconic character. He was a total meme for a really long time. And Tess, that's really awesome. I hope.
That doesn't sound like a bee.
No, one of them has to have. All right, so we'll give this job to Chat. Chat, can you find where the bee is? Like, we need someone to find where the bee is.
If all of them have been revealed.
Like, there's got to be a bee. Oh, I think. Oh, it's in Tess. She has the Blink Fox. Yeah. Oh my god, that's so adorable. All right, let me see if I can get this on stream.
Oh, okay, you're pulling it up.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get this added. That is so cute. I would not have guessed Tess. I was guessing like Lunara or something.
Yeah.
All right. Oh. Grab this. Tess.
I like the Dame Hazelbark guess is another one potentially as well. That was another good guess, but no, this is the bee in Tess.
Look at that! Oh my god, she has Blink Fox. I hope they let Tess do Tess's design before she ended up switching teams. Because also these skins are fantastic. These are so good.
Attack, hello.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Here. So do we want to go through? We'll go through our last thoughts on our characters, and then we can start talking about a bunch of the other ones that got revealed.
I think there wasn't too much more to talk about with Ysera, I don't think. There was one thing that I did want to mention, or I mean, kind of what.
Oh, wait, Tess is in chat.
2 things in particular. Hey, there we go. Hey, there you go. Tess did design Tess. That's perfect.
That's awesome.
Got to put in your card for it. No, Ysera, honestly, the only things that I really am curious about with Ysera, again, can you dream the opponent's Merc back to their bench? You have to imagine Dream was active.
Yeah, it says
you can. There's no shot you can't. Like, that's how it worked.
That's so cool. I mean, it's just with Malfurion, it's just straight up delete your Merc essentially, like for like.
Well,
time
it's a
walk per
sap,
turn.
right?
Right,
Like
it
it's
is,
a sap.
yeah.
But yeah,
sure thing.
it's
Like that's so disruptive in an archetype that really didn't have that type of disruption. That was a kind of a thing that I was looking for nature to have. And so I love that Emerald Oracle can do that. And again, the option. Actually, I mean, really, when you count Emerald Oracle as multiple abilities again, yeah, this is another 6 ability Merc in some cases, with the Triple Dream in the actual Emerald Dream in the middle there. But the only other thing that I wanted to mention is that there is another cool play pattern with Ysera's Nightmare, where you give somebody plus 30 attack and they take 20 damage at the end of every turn. You can just put it on the enemy, just in that same way
Yeah,
as
on
in
like a
Standard, where if
caster.
you want to, you can Nightmare them. But yeah, if you just, this is like a 40 crit bleed basically that happens every turn. And again, if you're putting it on a caster, they're often not attacking. You can choose not to attack them. That might be one of the most powerful ways that people end up using the Nightmare Dream as well. So I just wanted to make sure they mentioned that, because that wasn't even something that we noticed until after we had done the reveal. So super hype. I'm really excited to play with Ysera. Again, Malfurion, Ysera, and what? That's absolutely going to be one of the starting places for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too, as you were saying, like put it on a caster or something. Because I was also thinking, if you put it on a casters in the center, give them a bunch of attack, and then Maestra Betrayal, give them basically plus 40 attack in turn, make them hit adjacent mercs, plus whatever attack they already have on them. So you could do a big AoE against their board basically, and then also have, just as you were saying, a bleed on their merc. So I think that would be
it's
really
better
cool.
than a bleed, right? Yeah, someone's saying in chat there, it's so cool. Yeah, it's better than a bleed, right? Because you can't remove it, and it can crit, and it just lasts forever. And sure, they get an upside to it, but it's kind of like it's got that legendary bleed kind of finale to it. But it could be, you're right, it could be kind of changed to not crit and kind of function more as a bleed. I'm really just using bleed to refer to like an end of turn ticking damage ability. But I don't know. Again, we'll have to find out, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, Ysera is really sweet. I think that something like this is really, really cool for specifically nature as well as dragons. Now you can get some kind of neat stuff going with like potentially a more sustained focused dragon comp, like between Yulon and Nefarian with the extra health or the healing when the dragons are dying, and Ysera, and then you even have what's her name, Onyxia, who can punish the opponent with damage for the dragons dying too. So there's a really neat kind of I'm sure there's gonna be something there. It's really,
we could put the OG nature bench onto the bench of dragons now potentially, so you have a Malfurion, but it doesn't have to open, and so you can still get the verdant breath value out of Ysera, and then you can have the potential Brucon Malfurion stuff on the backside. Again, you start thinking about all kinds of combinations for what was more or less a dead archetype in terms of nature.
Yeah, we haven't really seen much from nature in quite some time, and I think between this and one or two of the other characters that we're going to talk about, it's gonna, I think, go a long way towards helping that archetype. And like I said before,
now too,
like there's just so much support here for a lot of different archetypes that needed it. It feels like, I think this is probably the best drop for that, where it doesn't really feel like it's lopsided towards any one archetype in particular. There's arcane, there's dragon, there's a tiny bit of shadow, but it doesn't feel like it's
overbearing.
It doesn't feel like it benefits from the Vol'jin shadow stuff, which is why I think shadow is getting a little annoying. So it's nice to see like Bwonsamdi doesn't really gain a lot from the Vol'jin speed, so you're not like shoehorned into running Vol'jin with him every single time. Or maybe you don't want the Vol'jin speed on that if you're going to be dealing with time, right? And so you could put on one of Vol'jin's other equipments and just use him for being a troll, right? So pretty neat stuff there. All right, so let's get up Mr. Murloc Holmes here, our last character. I really love this one. I'm so happy we got another red Murloc. And
Murlocs were already good. Again, it was the Popper Open, but Murlocs really impressed me in the Popper Open 3 that we saw a lot of play with just, again, Finley and Murky really doing so much work, and the kind of reworked Morgul as well. Murloc Holmes absolutely is a windmill slam into that deck and is in the top 2 or 3 in terms of power level of the whole deck, I would say.
Yeah, I think they're very strong.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, I really like his third one, where it's kind of like a Bwonsamdi, where if it kills 2 mercs, it's just a huge damage, and that's permanent too. So you could just throw that on, like, hey, if they got the carry Merc, throw it on that. You don't have to worry about that Merc basically for the rest of the game to start focusing the other ones, and that Merc will basically kill itself off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. He is a legendary, so
That's okay. He can sit on the sideline. Well, apparently our next tournament is probably going to be a not popper rules. So
True.
full six stacked Murlocs can come out. There is a thing that I wanted to mention as well that I didn't realize again until after we kind of looked at Murloc homes with the predictions. For some reason, my brain kind of interpreted them as so like if they act first or if they act last. It does have to be the entire combat, right? So you're going to have to make sure that you're not acting after them or before them. So it does kind of force you to not be too fast or too slow because you'll ruin your prediction. I kind of assumed at first glance that it was only your opponent's speeds, right? If they order their 3, if it's the last one of those, but no, it's the entire combat. So Murlocs are already very good, right, at being at that like 4 to 6, 3 to 6 speed range. So they're probably not going first or last often. But just another thing to kind of keep in mind. And then, yeah, Elementary is crazy. It's like a Blessing of Kings, but kind of better and in a better tribe for it and faster and immediate action. Yeah, it's great. I've talked a lot about how I think Divine Shields is one of the best ways for this game mode to kind of introduce immunity or damage reduction or healing. Like just a bubble that you can pop is so skill intensive. How to time it, how to pop it, who to put it on, what it blocks, all of those are just very, very just again skill intensive opportunities for PvP and better than just healing or better than just damage. And it's hard to kind of break it in terms of a power creep in any kind of way because a bubble's a bubble. So I'm hoping that we might even see kind of like a spell shield bubble that's not just a divine shield bubble, but then you can
that could be neat.
The range of design that it can go into. So yeah, I'm stoked. This again, Murloc Homes makes me want to suit up some Murlocs.
Definitely. Like I think the Murloc comp is really going to benefit from this because one of the very strong things about Murlocs currently is Murkai basically being able to force them to swing into stuff. We've seen a lot of that with Finley, and Murloc Holmes really lends himself rather well to that kind of strategy. So it's pretty neat to see another Murloc that cares about attacking. They really benefited from having another protector role. Again, more Divine Shield, which we've seen, and caring about opposite enemies, which we've seen with Maestro can be very strong if you can line up where you have more Mercs than the opponent, so you actually get like that double swing in. Also worth noting, they really beefed up the health and the attack on a lot of these characters, which is I think a good direction for how the damage increases have been going. Like we've seen characters in the past when they're maxing out at like 65 or 70, and a lot of those characters just have a hard time seeing play because they just get killed so quickly. So it's nice seeing that they're kind of pushing a bit more health and whatnot to make up for the fact that the damage ceiling has gone higher, and I'm hoping that we see some more stat buffs on some of the weaker launch mercenaries over time to kind of help them out with the fact that the game has just kind of raised its damage and health overall.
You know, I think it's good because it's not too fun when everything dies, in the second turn just right away and you can't do anything about it. So having even just more HP, makes it so you don't have those breakpoints and everything. Like they just can't blow it up. So it's nice to just have that extra HP, a little bit more cushion on a lot of the characters. Because I think all of the ones we showed were 80 and above. So no 70s or below on it.
Maybe one was like 79 or something, but
Sarah might have been lower, but I think Max she went over.
Yeah. Okay. So really, really cool. I really just love the everything about them, from the flavor to the depth of the design. It's kind of like we experienced this a little bit with the last drop, where there's so much information, it's kind of hard to compute like all the different strategies and stuff. Like I want to just like get my hands on it and try stuff out because I can't even like think about a lot of the depth of these different things. And
these are just
yeah, I know. So we can take a look at some of the other ones here now. Here I have a graphic for like 2 more of them. So we'll start with those 2, I guess, and then we'll just be reading them off afterwards. I wanted to do more graphics and stuff, but it wasn't in the cards with how fast reveals were coming out today. It takes time to put these graphics together. and whatnot. But I hope people enjoy them because I think they're really fun to make, and I find it helps me absorb the information a little bit better. So I hope people like them because I think they're generally a good thing for the format of revealing stuff. Let's find. She's in here somewhere.
Yeah, this is our. So now we don't. At least WizardBeast and I don't know anything about any of these new ones we're going to be seeing. So
the first one, I gave you guys a little bit of a hint about it on the call earlier. It's a character that does something we haven't seen before, and that is Nemzy. So I'll read it out here. Nemzy Necro Fizzle. She is a gnome caster, 9 attack, 70 HP. These are max stats, and she has a default battle cry. So no item needed for this battle cry. That's kind of what I was talking about before. Summon a 10/25 Boggy with Taunt. And she very much cares about her Boggy. There's one little minor mistake here on the image. The last thing is level 1, not level 5, but I'll read out the level 5 one. So Boggy Blast, first ability. None of these have any cooldown, by the way. All nature abilities. Deal 15 damage. Summon a 10/25 Boggy with Taunt. If you already have Boggy, give it plus 15 health instead. Then Erupting Fungus. Choose a friendly character after 4 speed. Choose a friendly character. After it survives damage this turn, it deals 18 damage to a random enemy. So you can kind of use that on Boggy or another one of your defensive characters, which is pretty cool. And then they'll deal the damage back. And then Bogonomics, 3 speed. Give a friendly character. It's +5, +10 at max level and taunt. If you have Boggy, give it +5, +5. So I think it would just add that on top of it. That's a lot of stats.
Does the +5/+5 go to the Boggy or to?
It would go to Boggy. So the Boggy would get +5, +5, and then the character would get +5, +10. Or if you gave that buff to Boggy, he would get both of those.
Okay.
Wow, and you can spam that every turn.
No cooldown.
No cooldown on any of these.
Wow, and nature
on all of them.
0 speed.
Yeah. So these look pretty sweet. And then looking at the equipment here.
She's nature.
Yeah, I know. But it kind of makes sense a little bit. It's neat. I'm kind of happy they went this direction instead of doing like Shadow for Warlock because we don't need more Shadow. But Bog Moss. Boggy gains additional characters or adjacent characters take 7 less damage.
That's a lot.
So that's kind of nuts, especially when you combine it with something like Cho, where it makes your summons take less damage and whatnot. So I think that's a good reason why she might be playable. Fishing Lure, Boggy gains +10 health, and after this attack a random enemy. And then Fresh Peaches, Boggy gains at end of the turn, give your taunt characters +12 health.
Oh, wow. Taunt comp with what's his face? Who's
Vandar.
Guy?
Yeah. Vandar.
Makes all your taunt go in.
Give people taunt, pump Boggy. He attack. That fine. So this makes Vandar playable.
Yeah. Well, she can even give herself taunt then too, so you can just swing in with like 4 characters if you want, and then they're all getting health at the end of turn and more stats just nonstop. God, that's crazy.
Yeah, Vandar was looking for a way to turn somebody into a taunter, and this is probably the best one.
And then even the fungus ability too. Basically throw that on someone, and then if they're swinging in too, have random damage going somewhere if they get hit by anything else. Dang, all of these abilities are nice.
Yeah, I like the design a lot.
This one screams a little like rarity, like power level. Like I think that's, if anything, probably the weakest of the abilities. Like I'm just so anti-random in that kind of sense, and especially when Bogonomics looks so cracked. Like you're gonna give up +10, +15 in stats at a faster speed instead of just like an 18 random, and they have to take damage. So that they're not even, if you just Erupting Fungus them and they don't take damage, just does nothing. That whiff feels kind of bad, but no, I mean Bogonomics, Boggy Blast, taunt package with Fresh Peaches and stuff, and the 7 less damage is cracked too. So
because
this is really cool.
Characters.
Yeah,
so always basically be on her for sure, and then one other Merc you can put next to her.
It's like it's kind of like the Bane totem in a way, but instead of absorbing the damage, it's just 7 reduction. But 7's a ton, because for anyone who doesn't know, that damage reduction's applied before crits. So if you're using a cookie snipe on a red, it takes that 10, it minuses it by 7, and then it applies critical. So it would deal 6 instead of 20. That's nuts. And then you can protect Boggy with Cho, potentially, where the summon will be taking less damage itself, and then you could even have Cho next to it, so it's at Boggy's protecting Cho, so it seems pretty crazy.
Might as well throw you on them there and just keep increasing everyone's health then.
Yeah, you definitely could, and you wouldn't even necessarily need the taunt quite as much, as long as you're able to just scale up with the health and the damage reduction. You don't really care if taunt is offline, because your characters are so hard to damage.
This could even go, I mean, it's all nature spells. This could even go into Big Snake, and you start taunting your snake, and you just have like 100 health taunted Big Snake. Also, Erupting Fungus. So I think, somebody pointed out in chat too. Nothing says that this is closer to the Longshin ability, if anything, right? It's actually like it can take multiple sources of damage and shoot 18 randomly. That's actually a million times better than I thought. So that's that ability is also great. Just kidding.
Yeah, and throw it on like anyone who's swinging in, say like a Maestro or something at 4 speed. You can combo it. Then she hits twice, and then right there, that's 2 shots, so that's around 40 damage, and that's without crits. And then if anyone hits her back or anything, so that's what I was thinking. But even just throwing that on like Vandar or something, or like if you wanted to take Fishing Lure instead and say throw it on your Bog Monster, so then it gets hit, it does that damage, and then it swings back and then does more damage. So just more combos, because 18 damage going random, that's still a decent chunk, and if it hits a crit, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah. No, again, like compare it to the Longshin. When I take damage, you just laser something. That ability was way better than I expected. And against any kind of, I mean, I'm a Diablo gamer most of the time, and so like I obviously just couldn't play the video game anymore if that ever went out. And this is going to be it's so similar.
And this is even higher damage.
And
another one was
no
what,
setup.
12 or so?
So which 6. One? Erupting Fungus?
No. Long. I'm saying on his, it's only like 12, right? Without any bonus.
Yeah, I think hers is 12. I want to say something around there. Roughly. Okay. I never know, because she always comes in off the bench, damage. So it's like it's always so much higher. It's hard to keep track of them all.
Another good question. Yeah, if the Erupting Fungus says the character deals 18 damage to a random enemy, does that allow you to reorganize how your crits happen?
You should be able to.
You should be critting off the character that has it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, so you're not even, it's not Nemzy dealing the damage, it'd be the other character. So if you do hit the right one, that could be 36. So that's really, really sweet.
Okay. No, sweet. I mean, especially again for a rare, right? Like obviously rarity in Mercs kind of doesn't really mean anything.
Except for Pauper tournaments.
Except for Pauper tournaments. Nemzy is going to run it in the next Pauper tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
Basically, equipment just attached to the Merc. It's literally like she has 2 equipments, because she just gets a free battle cry.
Yeah, that's what I really love about this. It's so interesting that like now the precedent has been set. Now this can happen with other characters in the future, and I think there are even some other ones in this drop where there's just like a death rattle stapled on the character. That's when I think that's one of Grumpy's reveals, so we'll talk about that one a little later. But this is just great design space, and it really helps get rid of the issue of, what if the summon's just the best item? Well, you're just locked to the best item. Now that's not really as much of a problem anymore with these new characters. So pretty neat.
Yeah, no, really loving all the design of these characters. There hasn't been one character where I've been like, it's some, you know.
Nobody's whiffed yet.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next on the docket?
Let's take a look here. I think I have one more graphic, and then we're gonna switch over to the Merc reveals. Let me see if I have it here. Here we go. So it is Neru Fireblade. I believe this was actually a PvE boss, funnily enough, a while ago.
Oh yeah, that was
It was like in the first. It was like the final boss of the first bounty.
The one that summons all the imps with the portal.
Yeah,
yes.
So demon support potentially.
So imps. He actually cares a lot about imps. Here, let me get him up here. Here he is. So Nero Fireblade, another caster, a orc, 9 attack, 84 HP.
Oh, it's not even demons. Oh, okay. No, but the imps are probably demons.
The imps are demons, yes.
Demon. Oh yeah.
So his first ability, 5 speed, 0 cooldown. Command Demon. Summon a Wild Imp. Deal 10 damage to an enemy. Your imps will target it this turn if able. Fell. And then the Wild Imp is a 5/15 demon. At the end of turn, deal 12 fell damage to a random enemy.
Oh.
So
But you can
fell support.
But you can make that targeted. Is that what it does? So instead of being random, if you use that first ability, it makes the imps target them that at end of turn.
That's my interpretation. Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I
Target this turn if able.
guess I'm not really sure. It's hard to be sure about that one, but that kind of would make sense, right? Because you're not really going to be attacking in with a 5 attack. So that makes sense. And then his other ability is Burning Blade Portal, 5 speed, 2 cooldown. At the end of your turn, fill your board with Wild Imps, another fell spell school. And then Implosion, 6 speed, 2 cooldown. Destroy a friendly imp. Deal 10 damage plus its attack and health to a random enemy 3 times. Fell. Yeah, so that's kind of nuts. So it deals 10 plus 20 at its base health, so it's dealing 30 to a random enemy 3 times. It gets spell fell boost. So that's kind of sick. Then his equipment's Jumbo Imps. Wild Imp has plus 15 health. So that can even make that even bigger. Combustible Imps. Wild Imp has Death Rattle, deal 12 fell damage to a random enemy. And then Demon Armor, passive, your demons have immune while attacking.
Wow. So a lot of good demon support here, though, because all the imps are demons, and then attacking, which a lot of the demons like to go.
And fell support, too, which the demons care about.
Yep. I actually really like it, but I am surprised ability 2 and 3 both have 2 cooldown.
I think that's a first, too.
Yeah. So I wonder if it would be like more bench, pop them off the bench, use the portal, and then next turn go for Implosion on one of your imps.
Definitely, I think it seems more of a bench character due to the 2 cooldowns. But maybe if there's a way you can protect it, you can just summon imp, boom, Implosion. Especially if you have the extra health on your imps, they're kind of harder to get rid of at 30 HP if your opponent doesn't have AoE.
Crazy. Your repeat summons, and in some cases you're summoning multiples in one go, have plus 15 health. That is a crazy, crazy number.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like its design. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot too, honestly. I think it's going to be one that's a little bit more complicated to make work, because most of us...
by itself, though, too. This could literally just be a one-card package in itself of, like you said, just treat it like a chain lightning kind of thing, where you just take it off the bench and just go Nero, portal, summon 3 imps, and they just start shooting things.
This is a good point. So Gul'dan has an equipment now when he gets fell damage when a demon dies. So maybe you use Gul'dan, you summon these imps, you let the imps get killed off, and then you're boosting your fell damage, which boosts Nero as well as your other demons. That's a really cool potential combo.
Gul'dan playable. You'll have to see it.
Yeah, right.
And the cool thing I just realized also reading it says deal 12 fell damage.
Yes,
to a random enemy.
It has a spell school.
By any fell thing.
Yeah, and
cool.
So maybe Jiraxxus with the fell damage?
Yeah, that's the only bummer
coming
so far.
Together.
It seems like we're just being limited by board space with where Jiraxxus wants to make summons.
I know, right?
Nero wants to make summons.
There's so many summons now.
Space.
It's true.
No, this is another really cool one. I mean, this is a great way to do the demon support, where again, you can think about some ways to, it can be an opener, it can be on the bench, you can just play it for just the pure demon armor and kind of replicate some of those. There's like the Manaroth Diablo kind of attacking centric demon comp as well. Might be just as viable in another version.
Yeah. And one thing to note, definitely about space. So far out of the 6 we've seen, 5 of them have summons.
Yeah, tons of
Only
summons.
one that doesn't have is Bonsandi. He's the
only it's true, huh?
And even he has Death Rattle resummon something, so that can still.
Also, I guess.
It's pretty neat.
Basically, with 7 board space, please.
Yeah, that would be nice. So those are all the fancy graphic ones I have. We're gonna take a look at Discord ones. I'm just gonna get this set up. I'm just going to basically just screen share the the Discord stuff on here, and we can just read through it. Let me get this added real quick.
Yeah, has anything really been spoiled yet that upsets a Trigor meta? I mean, I guess you could argue that summons are good for kind of like soft tanking Trigor effects. But I mean, this is a classic Hearthstone thing as well, right? Where anytime a card gets nerfed, right, and there's an incentive for people to disenchant it, they will. It doesn't matter if the deck is still good; they will just disenchant it and play something else. And I think Mercenaries will benefit from that. Like, there's just new toys to play with, and far too many that, like, if you're the type of person that's going to only be playing Valera and Trigor stuff still, again, that population of person is going to go down by so much that deck should be fine. Like, that deck should be out there, but just not every other game. But if it's a 1 in 10, 1 in 15, again, that's the dream that we want, where when you should queue up for Mercenaries and you should play against a different deck every time. That's the dream. That's the Pokemon like high roll. So I do believe that even just injecting new characters into the meta, especially interesting ones, especially fun ones and good ones, will do that kind of nerfing job that they talked about of like, we shouldn't have to nerf too much. You guys should kind of figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely, gives more potential.
Yeah, one thing I would say against like Trigor and stuff, I would say Blasandi is a really good counter with his deals, or even if they try and play around that too, you just go the Binding Contract. They rush in and kill Blasandi, and then he just one-shots Trigor. So you can use that as a counter if they have to throw 2-3 abilities that kill him, and then he takes out the main carry. So, or his deals too. But
there's also a character that I think it was one of Grumpy's characters that literally counters an ability. So that's gonna be
counter.
Yeah, there's a counter, which is pretty cool. Does one of you guys want to read off this one? Can you see it fine, or should I?
Yeah, we can read it from here.
I can see it.
Okay,
it's all good.
Yeah, no, I'll take this one. So let's see. So we got Garona Halforsen. Oh no, just half Orkin, but it's 2 words probably. Okay. Garona half Orkin. She's a half orc. 1084. Another debated by another ad. If you can still see it, WizardBeast, then you can take it. Yeah, if you can read it, then you steal it.
Yeah, so first ability is Smoke and Knives. It's a shadow, speed 8, attack an enemy and deal 20 damage to an adjacent one. If this isn't a fighter, become one and deal 26 damage instead. Ooh. That's cool. Okay, so that's the first one.
Color swapping.
Yeah, then second one, Shimmering Toxin. This is 1 speed and nature, so this is a nature ability. Gain plus 10 attack, take 12 less damage this turn, and become a protector. Starts off cooldown.
Really, another full, like,
wow.
Like another character that is
I love this.
multi-swapping. That's very bizarre.
I love this so much.
Damage this turn and gain 10 attack.
This is so
That's
cool.
Huge. That goes up to 20 attack then.
She is a neutral too. Oh, yes, this is what I want.
And then, okay, third ability, 1 in the same, speed 1. This ability has cooldown 1. Discover a lineage ability combo, become a caster first.
Combo, let's go.
Do they have that written anywhere for what those abilities are?
I did not see it, so someone might want to ask about that in the Discord if they have that information. I imagine they do somewhere.
Discover. So yeah, right there, 5 abilities in them. And then let's look at equipment. Shadow Step. End of turn, if you control another Merc, gain +4/+5 and return to the bench. So basically you can go in, do a bunch of damage, gain stats, go back on the bench, and then you could repeat this or pull out another one. That's
something
cool.
else, yeah.
And then half Orkin Legacy. Battle Cry, if you control another orc, gain +3/+10, repeat for Draenei and Human. Wow, so if you could just like heavy buff. So she's heavy stats.
If you wait.
So yeah, so how does this make sense?
So you get +3/+10 if you have an orc. Then
and
if
then
you
get
human,
even more.
You get another +3/+10, and if you have a Draenei, then you get another +3/+10. So you can get +9, +30 if you have all 3.
Well, you'd have to have a 4 Merc.
No, it counts. No, he's right. Yeah, right? It's another orc, right? So
yeah,
unless
there are summons, human summons.
Other human summons.
Oh, it doesn't say Merc. Yeah, it doesn't say Mercenary.
Yeah, the Gen one's a human.
Gen one's a human. I'm not sure if there are any other human summons or Draenei.
That's a little hard to do. I mean, I guess you can.
I'll have to see
them
if there's
off the
other
bench,
mercs
but-
with new ones. And then last one, Knife of Indecision. Battle Cry, gain plus 15 health, become a neutral.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
That's way better than Cho's. He's losing health and becoming neutral. This one, you're gaining health and becoming neutral.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool. And it's fitting for her lore, right? Because she doesn't have, like, she's not really for Alliance or Horde, I believe. Like, or at least that was part of her story, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so that's very fitting.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, for the neutral. Because, and she's heavy stats. So being a neutral, you don't have to worry about crits on you, but you have such good stats that it's kind of like you're doing crits to them when you're hitting in.
Yeah.
Dang, that is so strong.
Yeah, this is difficult to evaluate.
Orc synergies? Presumably not, right?
It says, half orc.
Well, so do we... Rexar's a half orc, right? Do we know if things like Thrall's plus attack or any of the other orc ones work on Rexar? I'm not really sure. Any more changes than just Mercs? Wow. Probably not, Frankie.
Vex says it works.
It does work. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's sweet. Okay. They typically don't do balance changes for existing characters in the content drops. Those are usually the 0.0, 0.2, 0.6. So maybe we see some changes in 0.6 or something, but typically they don't do it in 0.4 from what I've seen.
They might do like maybe 1 or 2 mercs I think we had, but it would be like a little bit of stat change. We don't know until patch notes come out for that.
Yeah.
But I think last time wasn't it just Blink Fox that had a change or something?
They've done like one minor thing before, but I wouldn't expect a bunch of like character changes to existing stuff for this patch because I don't think they want to. They want to see how things impact the game before they mess with previous characters. And the patch notes go live 3 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. EST. So keep an eye out for those.
The fact that there's so much to talk about with this Merc already, and we still have no clue what the Discover ability does is wild. And we've seen with Murloc Holmes, with Ysera, and with Bonsamdi, all of those were some of the best parts of the character. So if even one of those lineage abilities is legit, then this Merc again just continues to be great. And again, this is some of that orc synergy that I was talking about. We're seeing the stats really playing in as well. But the color I actually didn't expect that at all when we were talking about how do you make kind of orcs become a good, like an aggressive deck or a tempo deck or have some form of disruption. I did not expect or think about disruption through the lens of changing color so that you magnify your stats as your kind of form of disruption of doing extra targeted damage by using your brain like that. So this is awesome. This is another, again, for a rare.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, really cool. I like this a lot. And I just love these characters that can mess with their color and all that kind of stuff. I think that's some really neat design space. The fact that you can gain stats and return to bench is like kind of crazy. Also,
I love all this stuff that's bouncing and like just making people reset where the game is in the middle of the game. We've seen this with now Garona, with Bonsamdi, to a certain extent, we've had all kinds of people coming off the bench now. Now you can put your Bright Wings and stuff on the bench and your Patches and your Maestras, reset those back onto your bench by picking people up. Like the opportunities are pretty limitless.
Mm-hmm. And also about her discoverability, my guess is it's going to be focused more around tribes. Because,
that would make sense.
Yeah. And I want a human.
One of her equipment's, the Draenei, human, and orc. Mm-hmm. Maybe she has like those 3 type of lineage that she can kind of pick from. So, and decides kind of, which type she's going to be or something. So, maybe she'll work like in a human comp too or something. Like that would be cool.
Mean that we have at least 1 or 2 other Draenei in the drop somewhere.
What if she could switch her type, her tribe? What if the lineage was literally like, hey, turn your tribe into human or something and then get like a certain bonus? Like that would be cool.
That's a good call. No, that could definitely be.
Yeah, wild guess, but yeah, I can't wait to see what those are. So, if we don't get them, if anyone doesn't have them, then we'll see in the patch notes probably.
Yeah. So, and we won't have to wait very long for that. And we have a lot to discuss while we're waiting for that. It's pretty crazy. So are we good to check out the next one?
I think so. What's next?
Yep.
Nothing has even remotely missed yet.
I know.
Yeah.
All of
We
these
hope,
are-
right? It should be that everything hits, right? Oh wait, are those the lineages? Are those not?
Or,
Just
those
scroll up.
Oh, wait.
abilities.
No, these are just the graphics for the skills.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, do you want to take this one, Mullahoo?
Yes. No. Yeah, we got this one now. Who do we got? Arana Star Seeker.
Elisa's
Another-
sister.
Ooh, some Fel support. Yeah, some Battlegrounds gamers coming into play Arana now. So a Night Elf. I know one of our other only Night Elf. Some more Night Elf support. 981 max stats. First ability, Edge Cancel. Speed 6. Gain +7 attack and attack an enemy. If the enemy has less attack than you, presumably, return this to the bench. Another bench bouncing.
Wow.
That's surprising. Okay, seems fine. +7 attack is a lot. But bouncing this is again upside and downside, just a cool build around. Second ability, Melodic Intonement, like melodic. Fel, speed 9, deal 22 damage to an enemy, set its attack to 0 until the end of next turn. So really only one turn of set it to 0, but it's like a Judgment of Humility that is very slow and does a lot of damage. It's a laser that goes through things and
Anti-Trigor.
targeted. Yeah, it can. Yeah, not bad against Trigor. Definitely. Yeah, you absolutely rip into Trigor with health. I mean, I guess technically you set their attack to 0. We don't know how layering works in this game, where if they then use backlash, will they still go up to like 9?
It should stay down because it's saying it's set it to 0 until end of next turn, so it should stay.
So we'll like constantly flip back like that. Okay. So I mean, that'd be great if it's just constantly, no matter what, it's locked at 0. And their third ability, Agrobatics. Another Fel spell, speed 2, cooldown 1. Deal 10 damage to an enemy and swap with an ally across from it.
Wait, what?
Enemy abilities targeting the Merc, swap targets if possible. Do you literally give your opponent one of your
Wait.
Heal one of
Wait,
theirs?
that's
What?
10 damage to an enemy and swap with an ally across.
Oh, they're just swapping places with a character on your side. It's positioning swapping. It's like Longjin swap.
Okay, so you swap Arana with someone.
Yeah, swap her with an ally across from whatever you're targeting, but it's like Longjin where enemy abilities targeting swap targets if possible. Okay.
Okay, not as mind-blowing. I thought that was literally
still really good, but yeah, that
A little confusing.
Strong.
Oh, that's
I mean,
that's
any
cool,
type
though.
of these like retargeting things are very good. Okay, still targeting the same Merc swap targets. Okay, cool. Equipment, Unbreakable Backpack. Battlecry, gain +2 Fel, Arcane, and Nature damage, and gain +1 more for each of your other Night Elves and Demons. Wow,
That's nuts.
So this is 2021. You take out like 4 of these keywords.
It's so true. Yeah, this would be +1 and no bonus. Like,
wow. And the fact that it's just a raw amount, no matter what, you don't have to have anything die. Just like the +2 is quite. That's real. Again, and you can obviously put it into a bunch of different things. People will be incentivized to make a really fun Fel Arcane Nature deck that has kind of parts of all of them and go crazy in that sense. You've got some, I guess there are a couple good, obviously, demons that go into, I guess Tyrande is a Night Elf and she has Arcane. You've got demons that have Fel Natures with some Night Elves too. You got Malfurion.
We have more demons this patch too. We haven't gotten to them yet, but I think there are at least 2 or 3 new demons.
Oh, nice.
Okay, sick. And then second equipment, Iambic Pentameter. Passive enemies across from us have -8 attack. That's surprising that they do -8 attack and not -10 attack for Pentameter, but enemies across from us have -8 attack. That's
neat.
This is the first time we've had. Yeah,
Positioning.
now the shifting thing moves around and actually has a lot of value out of that.
I love
so
positioning.
2 different abilities that have
So cool.
reduced their attack. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And we've seen lots of attacking Mercs in that kind of sense now. But honestly, the other thing that comes to mind is like when people are going to be picking up their Mercs so frequently, or we've seen so many other things now that start to bounce things. I mean, obviously, Arana can bounce herself too, but there will be now some counterplay in outside of just reorganizing, because you can't really reorganize in the middle of combat, but now you can bounce something, reorganize to play around this, and everybody goes back and forth. So that's really awesome. Final equipment, Glaveland. Battlecry, gain +5 health and roll advantage against this. Gain +5 health and roll advantage against this Merc's current role.
So she should be able
that's neat.
to crit blues, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
So she kills.
the cool thing about this is because she
Huh.
keeps bouncing herself back with different abilities. You can basically be like, hey, they have more reds out. I can basically bounce myself back and then kind of do it, because the first time that happens, she'll be a red, but then if you go back and then it would come out blue would beat her, so then she would become a fighter
Yeah,
because you keep bouncing her back, so you can just keep swapping the roles. That's cool.
that's really neat. I definitely like that, and it can also like protect her. Potentially, you're gaining a little bit more health each time too, even though it's smaller.
Okay. I mean, yeah, not bad.
These
I mean,
are all
honestly,
unique. I
yeah,
like
they're
like
definitely unique. I would say
very
that this
cool.
is probably the weakest of the Mercs that we've seen so far. So
Maybe.
the closest to a miss for me personally, but it's still pretty neat. Again, some cool fell support, some cool swapping around. But I think as again the power level of Mercs continues to rise, Mercs like this, where they're a little more. I mean, the deal 22 and set their attack to 0 is maybe one of the best elements of this kit. Again, it has no cooldown. It's got fell stuff. It's very slow, obviously, which is kind of annoying. But I personally start to stray away as the power level of things go up. These types of like supportive mid-rangey types of Mercs lose a little bit of value for me, but it's so much more of like a counter. That's the other partial issue too, right? Is that it's a little bit meta dependent, where obviously this is very good against attackers. But if the meta doesn't have much actual physical attacking in it, or the attack stat matters a ton, now you're going to start queuing up into people and just you're down an entire Merc in that kind of
If
way.
you bounce this with that battle cry of gaining,
and stack that up.
that's kind of nuts. Like if we have more bounces now, like you gain that plus
that's
2
pretty
fell,
clear.
arcane, and nature, and then gain it again. And clarification on the role advantage. So it sounds like it doesn't actually change what role she is. It just makes it so she crits versus those things, right? So I think.
So she would crit on 2 rolls then, correct? She would crit on.
Yeah, or if you change,
Hector's.
I think the way it's worded this way, or why it's worded this way, is because it'll still work if you change what color she is through a different means, right? Like let's say we have Hook Tusk, for example, and we make her a green, then she could have roll advantage against greens while being green still. I think that's but since it's a battle cry, it only goes off.
Yeah.
I think it would stay. I don't know. This is a very different thing than anything we've seen before.
Yeah, I wonder if it gives you double crit then, because actually,
it sounds like it, honestly.
Yeah, she would have crits against protectors, and then this would give her crits against, so roll advantage against Merc's current roll, so, and then fighters, yeah, so that looks like she'll be able to crit on greens and reds then.
No, well, someone does point out Mistress has gained roll advantage, and that she does change colors, so maybe she does change into a fighter. It's just strange. We'll have to see how this works, but I like it.
3 different Mercs that can change abilities in this change colors in this drop alone.
And there might be more.
I think it's great design space. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this kind of design space. I think the fact that like it just adds so much depth to what you can do with some of these characters if you can change what color they are. We saw Hook Tusk and Maestra were really their first kind of toying around with that. But I think it's a really interesting way to go. And it also makes it harder where if you see what your opponent is starting out with, sometimes you can get kind of tricked by that, right? Like, they have a blue, but turns out it's actually a green, right?
It can trick people and reduces the feels bad of just your opener just gets sauced because you have a bad color matchup right away, right? Now you can you have a turn of getting beat down, and then you can transition, and that's great, right? Those kind of reduction of feels bad moments in a type advantage game like this, just like Pokemon. I don't know really how Pokemon ended up dealing with that feels bad element of like, oh, I just get hard countered by the particular lineup. Obviously, you can start to build a deck that is not just completely vulnerable to a common archetype or anything like that.
Yeah, so the way Pokemon dealt with it was you had so many combinations that it was, even when things were meta, it was really hard for one thing to be so dominant and it couldn't be countered a lot of the time. There were rare exceptions to that, but we also have to remember that unlike having 3 different roles, Pokemon has like 20, right? So there's a lot more weird depth to what is advantageous against what. But I think the fact that we have more role swapping stuff does kind of help us get a little bit closer to something like that, where it also helps deal with a problem where, and we've talked about this in the current meta, where greens are kind of at a loss right now, right?
Yeah.
Because there are so many powerful reds that can just kill them on turn one. You have to pass a very high threshold to be a lead green in the current metagame. So I think this kind of helps with something like that, because it means that since you can change colors, you're not necessarily like you don't get punished for just being one color if the meta is hating on one particular color, right? So I think that is a pretty huge thing. The fact that you have a choice that can change things, so because critical damage matters so much. Critical damage matters so much, because especially in these high damage abilities, like doubling that. I mean, we saw it right from the beginning with like Valera, right, where she gains all that extra attack, and then if you're critting, it's like almost 50 damage. Like, that's insane. And the numbers have only gotten a bit higher since then. So I think this is a helpful way to help deal with that a little bit. Yeah, I like this character a lot. I don't like, this is one of those ones where I'm gonna have to play with this before I can really evaluate this. There's just so much like weird stuff going on with it, but we do have more Fel support here, which I think is worth mentioning, because there actually is quite a lot of Fel support in this patch. That's one of the tribes that really needed it. So even though she's not like a demon, she's a night elf, I believe. I think maybe there's some way you could use this with Fel, especially with the fact that you can just passively gain extra. The fact that she could go in Fel, Arcane, or Nature as an additional damage boost really gives a lot of potential for what you could end up doing with her, where maybe she's more of a supporter role. And that's kind of what I view her as, is more of a supporting role rather than just a big damage dealer. And I love the positioning. The positioning stuff is so cool, and there's already a lot of depth to Mercenaries PvP, but positioning is like, it adds like a whole fourth dimension to it. Like positioning, we've seen it with a little bit with Longjin and probably the most with Maestra, but most of the time before that, positioning really didn't matter a whole ton in Mercenaries. I like seeing more positioning matter stuff, because that's, Illidan, because it really kind of makes a huge difference. And I know I would always make a mistake with positioning because I wasn't used to doing it, so I like the fact that that adds like a little bit more depth with your positioning.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, just all the things. They're interacting more of bench in this, more of role, basically swapping in this, and then, yeah, as you're saying, also positioning. And then, it's cool also seeing finally that they're doing basically like passives in a way on certain, like that we saw on Nemzy of the Battle Cry. So yeah, so far out of this drop, I'm loving all of these mercs.
Yeah, they're killing it. They're really killing it so far. Like, I'm also, fun fact, this is one we saw that got leaked very early on in Mercenary's life, but she used to be a green. And there are a few other characters that we're going to see that were like that too, where they changed in development. Cho was actually one of those characters. He ended up releasing a blue, but the kind of leaked image of him actually a red. So it's neat to see how some of these characters end up changing from pre-release to when we actually get to see them and play with them.
Yeah, wasn't Nemzy also a leak early on too?
Yes,
Sure.
she was indeed. She was indeed.
Nero, you might have been as well.
I think so. I did a video looking over those a little while ago, and there are a lot of ones I see. So we have some more here.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Demon.
I don't think we have the text posted for these yet. These are Grumpy's reveals.
Oh, okay, those are Grumpy's. Okay.
So we're gonna circle back to these, but we can see. So we have Archimond. I forget this guy's name. He was a legendary in like 2 sets ago. This is the one that I was telling you guys about. I believe he has like a default death rattle. So like he actually wants to die. That's why he's so tiny with 55 HP. But again, we'll look at that once we have it a little easier to view. Khadgar. And then
That's got to be some arcane at least.
Medivh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Khadgar.
So yes, there is arcane support.
There we go.
We're going to circle back to those once we can read them a little bit easier, assuming someone transcribes it, which hopefully happens. But yeah, we'll come back to them.
Are there does he have graphics up in
Yeah,
like
in
a
the
timestamp
video
in his
there
video somewhere?
are yeah. So if no one puts it up, we can do it through the video. So we'll take a look at those again shortly. But we have these other ones. Just they're easier to read off the top right now. So here I'll do this one. Prince Malcazar. This is a throwback for anyone who's been around for a long time. You might remember Prince Malcazar. I think he was the first original, like, adding extra cards to your Hearthstone deck card. He was a really fun kind of adventure legendary that never really saw much play, but was just kind of a fun Timmy kind of card. So he's a demon, protector, 12 attack, 79 HP. Abilities, so skill 1, Party Crasher, speed 3, attack an enemy. If it's a protector, it takes 10 more damage this turn, so neat little debuff there. Then ability number 2, check your weapons. Fell 5 speed, deal 18 damage to the highest attack enemy. If it's a fighter, its attack is permanently halved, rounded up. So I think we've seen another character do something like that, but they just didn't see that much play, so we haven't really seen that effect. One of the Nagas,
Naga.
yeah. And then all realities, Shadow, speed 3, cooldown 2, deal 25 damage to the next enemy who acts this turn. If it's a caster, set its remaining health to 5 instead.
Wow.
Okay, so I already really like the theme here, where each of his abilities kind of preys upon one of the different types. That's really interesting. And then his items, Flying Axes, passive, plus 15 health. Battle Cry, change a random enemy Merc's role to Protector. Okay, that's pretty sick. So more interaction with role changing. Again, I really like this. Then we have Parrying Blade. Battlecry, permanently reduce enemies, protectors, and casters' attacks by 10. That's kind of nuts for a Battlecry.
Permanent, is it the Mercs you think it hits, or is it the rest of the game, any Mercs that even come in?
Permanently reduce the enemy. I imagine it's ones on the field, but
Okay.
how it's worded, it
Not
could hit the
necessarily,
other
Yeah,
ones.
permanently
Could be.
seems like it might
Could
be
be
kind
better.
of like in Hearthstone, how the cards is like, hey, permanently give your totems +2 attack. I
Yeah,
wonder
like,
if that's
is it a sticky note that you put onto the battlefield, or do you stick
Yeah.
it onto your opponent's forehead? Is the question, basically.
Yeah. This can be the Trigor counter, right? Just enters,
Yep.
boom, see a 10 attack on Trigor. That's really
Yep.
cool. I like that. And then you can like use his other ability to like permanently have it. That's pretty sweet.
Dang.
And then 3 moves ahead, passive. Enemies' casters' abilities are 2 speeds slower. So a little bit of a passive caster hate. I think they're aiming that one at Vol'jin a bit, right? Get rid of most of his benefit from his Ring of Haste.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
I'm surprised there's
Dang.
no equipment that targets fighters, especially when, as you just said, it's like 1, 2, 3 for the abilities, and then no anti-fighter equipment necessarily.
Oh, and this hates old gods really hard because the old gods are protectors and casters, except for Cthulhu. So this really damages the old god focus build. So that's good. I think that's a good thing because that was becoming rather dominant.
Yeah, I would say that the anti-fighter is probably his first equipment, because if they're good at killing casters, and then you've changed them into a protector, and then the caster kills the protectors. So I think
No,
that's
that's a good
kind
point.
of
That's a good point.
anti-fighter
Good
one.
call.
Yeah,
Dang, this is a cool one.
very neat. Again,
And
just
demon.
the design space is off the charts. I love it. It's so neat. Like these are all like head scratching abilities where it's like I can't accurately predict how good most of these abilities are or aren't going to be until I try them. It's just there's way too much depth to think about all of because we have 100 other mercenaries already in the game. Now I know a large portion of them don't see that much play in PvP, but with some of these characters, maybe some of those other ones that have been down in the lower C, D tiers have more of a chance now that there's just more support for these tribes. That's the hope.
Yeah, because that's 2 demon things that we've seen support, right, so far?
So we had,
Prince, and then,
the 2
the
demons.
imp summoning.
Yeah, Neru, Malcazar.
And then there's that other blue one as well.
Varana.
And Archmon, yeah, I believe I've seen him yet.
Do you guys have any last thoughts on this one before we move on?
No, it's funky.
I'm all good on this
all
one,
right.
yeah.
Let's keep it going. Tess Greymane.
Oh yeah.
Human, 16 attack, 92 HP.
Yoink.
That's huge. She is a protector, rare. Abilities, yoink, shadow ability. Speed 4, deal 15 damage. Transform into a one-time copy of the ability the target casts this turn, if possible.
Wow.
That's really
That's
cool. Ability theft. I like
That's
it.
pretty strong.
Mhm.
Kind of terrifying with Vol'jin, also. 1 speed, by the way. Though that might not even be that good because, I guess I wonder if they will have to have cast it already or not, but we'll see. Moonlight Resolve, Arcane, Speed 3, restore 25 health, transform into a one-time copy of the last enemy ability cast this turn. So this is very thematic for Tess for sure. Then Princess Power, cooldown 1, discover, I don't see a speed here for this one. Discover an enemy ability. Oh, that's probably why. Cast 12 unique abilities this game to transform into what I'm capable of. And then what I'm capable of is cast 5 random abilities you've cast this game at an enemy if possible. So
Jeez.
ability theft, and then you kind of get a huge payoff.
12 is
12
a big number.
However,
A lot of abilities.
think about this though. It's not just her casting unique abilities. It's just cast 12 unique abilities this game.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
it's not
assuming
just
that's
her?
all your characters, because it doesn't say Tess has to cast them, right?
Yeah, that's still
It's a lot.
4 turns of casting then.
And we also don't know if this is something that can be read off of the bench, right? Like, does this automatically
That's true.
go down if you've already cast 6 abilities that were
Probably
unique when she
not.
comes in? Hard to
But
say.
maybe. Again, the classic, maybe.
As it says, this game.
Mhm. That's true.
That is true. Yeah, wow. And then, so actually, if she comes off the bench then, and you've already done 12 this game, that's a 1 ability that becomes 5 abilities.
Yeah.
That's insane, actually.
Kind of like an Oh My Yogg that's not terrible.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
really
And less random. So that's really cool. And then equipment, Cloak of Shadows, Yoink and Moonlight Resolve transform permanently. Their initial effects are improved by 6. I'm guessing that means damage. So 6 more to whatever you copy. Their initial effects. Oh, I see. So deal from 15 to 21, and then restore from 25 to 31 health.
Oh, so it's a one-time use basically on those effects.
Yeah,
bonus, but then
you keep whatever you
Okay.
steal. So that's really, really cool. Yeah. Hey, we can turn Tess into Trigor. Oh, that's funny. Then we have Steadfast Convictions, passive, +4/+8. Wow, that's a lot of stats. After this deals damage to a Merc, gain roll advantage. Wow, all right, that's nuts. That's really, really powerful. That turns her into, what the hell, 2100 base stats or max stats with
Dang.
that passive. That's nuts.
It's bigger than Trigor.
Yeah. And then Tools of the Trade, start of the game. Transform Yoink and Moonlight Resolve into random single-use enemy abilities. Gain +15 health. So it sounds like those start off not at their regular form, but as enemy abilities, and then I guess you get them back after you use them. Wow.
Okay.
This is sick.
Wow.
This is so cool. And this, especially for a rare, like, holy cow. This is one of the, I think, the deepest designs we've seen yet. And I love the fact that one of her skins, I guess I have to click it for the gift to go. There it goes. Look at that with the Blink Fox. You can already tell she's going to be Blink Fox. Like, it's just so fitting because Blink Fox also like steals stuff and whatnot. And she does have an arcane ability, right? So maybe there's a little bit of arcane synergy there, even if it's not damage. Just really cool. Again, this is like
it's great to have a rare that can copy. Like, I think a lot of games really benefit from having a free to play friendly option to either mess with or borrow from or steal from your whale opponent, right? Like to have the cheap but flexible kind of like horizontal space to just steal things and kind of outplay them by just being better as like the potential resident free-to-play gamer. I think that's such a cool mechanic to be able to have, and just again, but it seems very strong. Like the numbers are great.
Mhm.
The actual Blink Fox already stealing things was fun and powerful and has gone kind of tweaked up and down, left and right. I would not be surprised if Tess releases with some kind of a Blink Fox bug to
Yeah.
do it justice in the
Because these are complicated like abilities. Yeah, like
definitely everybody start crossing your fingers and toes now that this kind of increase in complexity doesn't come with a similar increase in kind of non-functionality right off the bat.
Yeah, I
Those
hope
things
so
are
too.
going to be with the roles changing and color changing and going to your bench and getting stuck, and who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully those have kind of been smoothed out, but time will tell.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite designs for sure. And Tess said she like had a whole ton to do with making Tess, so that feels really fitting. I just love this. This is so cool. The stats are nuts. I can't get over these stats.
Gigantic.
Like is this the biggest mercenary? Like
What was it at before? 14, 15 was the highest, I think, before.
I don't know off the top of my head. Deathwing I think had slightly more HP, but like with her passive. Yeah, so this is just bigger than Deathwing, I'm pretty sure. Maybe a little bit less health, but if you have the passive, you're flat out bigger than Deathwing, which is hilarious. Oh, Deathwing has the same stat total. Okay. Deathwing's 1494. Gotcha. So he has 2 more health.
If Tess is here, can they answer potentially the tracking the 12 unique abilities? Does that track from the bench or not? Do we know?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Does it cast right
away?
Any
insight into that? I feel like the way it's worded, it should. Because 12 is a huge number. I should have given her more stats. It should, but they could have changed it. Okay, cool.
So if they didn't change it, then it should be like that.
I think it makes sense.
The way they've worded it,
yeah, that it would work that way, because 12 is a ton to have to do while the character is out when you consider the pace of the game. I think it would make a lot of sense that way. I love the design though. This is such a cool design, and easily, like, I mean, already we still have a few to go through, but this is by far the deepest like design in any of the drops by like a mile, feels like.
Yeah, no, I really like it. But so if we are saying basically for the third ability, with basically magic coming off the bench, and you do the 5 random enemies, random abilities at enemies, but if you have the passive +4 +fate, and then after deals damage to a Merc, you gain roll advantage. Well, if you're doing 5 random abilities, you have a high chance of hitting the same Merc, so you can kind of like hit something, get the roll advantage, maybe end up hitting it again or do AoEs or something. So you might be able to just have that passive come off the bench, do 5 abilities, have a high chance of just critting on like everything.
True.
A lot of characters have AoEs and stuff, and especially depending on the team you're going against.
Oh, and she's a human too. Oh, sick. Oh, big humans are gonna love this.
Wow. Yeah, imagine having her on the back, just a massive stat Merc, and then just like.
Oh my god, her with Gen too.
Yeah. Oh, and Elise though has so many unique abilities.
Oh boy, we're gonna see some really big characters in this. Yeah, this is gonna be really nuts.
Should be able to target what I'm capable of all single target abilities hit the same enemy. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's really neat.
So you can, with that roll advantage, you can basically just melt a Merc then.
Oh, okay. 5 random abilities, but they all target.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed. But I can see why that may not have been super clear. But yeah, that's why I was saying it's better than the Yogg one, because the targets aren't random, only the abilities are. And it's kind of like, we've seen that effect before in like regular Hearthstone, where it's like random targets, but only enemies only. And this is even kind of better than that, because it's like random abilities, but you choose where they're getting targeted. So unless you have healing stuff in the pool, it should just all be positive, right?
Yeah, well, I love this Merc.
Deal.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites so far. I can't wait to jam this in big humans. All right.
Yeah, God, there's so many comps that are just looking great. I'm looking forward also to the troll comps and wondering what that other troll does too.
True. All right. Yeah. So there are reveals. We'll go back up.
Is it just Grumpy left then?
Yeah, I believe so. We have the Grumpy reveals. His are really sick.
Yeah, I mean Archimon, Medivh.
Yeah. Yep. So we have a demon, a troll. I think that's human
epic.
and human. Yeah,
Okay.
it's because they couldn't make them all legendary, or we would justifiably not be very happy with how hard it is to get legendaries sometimes.
I mean, hey, I don't mind more diamond portraits.
True. All right, let's let me pull up the grumpy reveal here. See if we can get these up.
Yeah, Archimon was one that I was not expecting. That takes me back to my OG.
Gonna drop this video in the chat
days.
too. Highly recommend people dropping a like, all that stuff, supporting the reveals. Helps us out a lot. Let me just rearrange it.
It's what, 4 legendaries? I'm not sure.
That's
on
pretty
how many
much what I
rares and
called was 4 legendaries is kind of what I figured. 4 legendaries, I think 4 epics, 6 rares, or 5, 5, 4. It's probably 5, 5, 4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Checking. So far there's 4 epics. I think it was all rares from the Discord. Yeah, I think they're all rares.
And then 2 and 2.
So double checking. Rare caster. Rare. Yeah, so it looks like 6 rares, 4 epics, 4 legendaries.
Gotcha. All right.
So 6 for 4.
So we have the image here. Now I believe these are non-max stats because the PNGs
that next one, the white text where it's deal 12, gain +3 fell damage right below.
That's the 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, their stats aren't. You're
yeah,
saying like Archimon stats aren't.
I think those are. I think it's missing the +1, +5.
Okay. So he would be a 1086.
The white text is max stats. Oh, it is.
Well, I think it's.
I think they're talking about the ability.
Oh,
at the bottom.
Apparently, Old Guardian has a video up that might have them all. Let me see if I can find that just to make it a little easier for us.
Dang, he's just cranking those out already.
Yep, it's the grind.
Yep.
Deal 12, gain +.
Oh yeah, he has them. This will be a little easier to view. So again, definitely recommend checking out Grumpy's reveal. We're gonna use this though, just because it's gonna be a little bit easier to view all at once. All right, so yeah, this is a little bit. Thanks, Frankie, for the heads up. So Archimond, are we sure it is the max? Maybe it is. Maybe it is because when we got the images, we were missing the +1, +5, but the gifts had them.
So I think it's not maxed. I'm pretty sure that's a 1086 max then.
Yeah. All right.
At least from how all of ours was in the other ones.
It's large.
Yeah. Here, I'll link the Old Guardian video too. So let's check him out. Archimon, do you want to do this one, Mullahoo, since you like him so much?
Yeah, let's take a peek. So we've got. Okay, so caster, epic caster, a demon, 981 or 1086, unclear. First ability, Finger of Death. 4 speed, another fell ability, deal 12 damage, gain +3 fell damage. So straight up, just the best precedent we've seen so far is really Jaina and Brucon, right? And both of those were quite good. So, but faster than both of them, right? At 4 versus 6 is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Second ability, Reign of Chaos. 6 speed, another fell spell, cooldown 1. Deal 18 damage to all enemies. Your fell abilities are 3 speed faster next turn. Cool. So a Malfurion
Belvolgen,
but it's delayed and it has a cooldown naturally, but still very strong. Doomfire, 3 speed, fell again, cooldown 1. Give all enemies +5 fell weakness this turn. Deal 10 damage to them after they act. So deals 15 damage essentially to every character that acts, and you get whatever other juicy stuff you want with your imps that you summoned off of Neru, etc., where each of those blasts are hitting for another 5. Okay, pretty strong. Reasonable abilities, all pretty good lasers. Big I mean, deal 18 is just real strong, and presumably, I guess we don't know if it's gonna be like Malfurion or not, where they kind of have to be alive for the fell abilities to be faster that next turn. So if you're,
I would assume so.
Yeah, the way it's worded, it seems the same.
And then live again. But doable. 3 equipment here. Edict of Argus. Doomfire's fell weakness is now permanent. So when you use on turn 2 or whatever, if you Doomfire, you give them all +5 fell weakness. It's just permanently instead of temporarily. That's strong, but fine. Let's see what the other equipment are. Archimon's Gold Coin. passive, after a demon dies, restore 10 health to all friendly demons. Okay, we've seen a lot of these kind of like tribal deaths then restore. In this case,
That's
the
nuts
numbers
with
are
the imps.
yeah, the imps
and
goes crazy,
Infernos.
and when the imps have the extra 15 health in some cases, so it's not just 15 that you have to squeeze this heal 10 into. 30 health gets to take a lot of damage and heal another huge chunk as well. And it's only when a demon dies, but it does heal 10, and it does only heal friendly demons. So a little bit tweaked numbers left and right for compared to the Ysera heal that we saw, the Bonsomdi heal that we saw, but again, all in on the demon comp. You love it. The final equipment, the Infernal Codex. Finger of Death gains Death Blow, gain +4 fell damage. Death Blow is going to be a little bit hard, and you're never really killing anything on turn 1 with it, and then in turns 2 and 3, you're probably not casting Finger of Death again. You're going to use your other fancy abilities, so probably one of the weaker ones
Maybe
there.
summons.
Yeah, you might be able to snipe some summons, but you're not really sniping on turn 1. But I mean, it might just be totally fine to just take that. If you're gaining +4 permanent fell damage, that might as well be quite similar to a Doomfire.
Because you're also
Giving them all
gaining 3 every time you use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so that's a pretty significant amount for sure. So
Oh yeah, you
maybe
can
if you have
target your
abilities on
own
Incredible-
summons, like
Yeah.
the imps.
Oh yeah.
Just start
the
blowing
imps,
up your
you
imps.
start at 15, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
so
maybe
turn
start
2 you would be
sniping
able
around.
to then, because it would go
Yeah.
to 15 after the first one.
Yep. True.
Then like now you're down an imp that was gonna shoot a fell thing that you wanted to get this fell bonus to apply to and stuff. But I mean, hey, that's it's up to the demon player, the demon pilot to figure out, not me.
You know what you could
So-
do with that is you could have the cooldown, so if the demons die, they could do that, and Jiraxis. So if you have demons, so there's not really, like, whether they're dead or alive, you're getting a bonus, right?
Yeah.
So that
And
could be kind of
as-
neat.
Good point there. Yeah, that with the Stargast pointing out that you could just take the death rattle when you kill an imp, it shoots a fell thing, and now that does stack from this bonus. So,
Oh yeah, not just a friendly. This is any demon.
ooh, any demon, you're right.
Oh
Another
my
tweak.
god. Yeah, the mirrors are going to get really silly if you run demons into demons there. We've seen that with stuff like dragons before, where the mirrors can be pretty silly.
Honestly, it's even kind of mirroring the standard format for a hot second when Neru was playable, and you would have the like matching, both teams would make the portal, and you would both have these imps that were going, and just it
Was
just a
Nero ever
crazy-
playable in standard?
It actually kind of was for a second. There was definitely a time when I saw it happening with some regularity. I forget what meta it was. It was a little while ago, but
Oh, and Diablo with this, with all these summons dying.
ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
Diablo. Hey, I will never stop playing Diablo. I love that guy. So
Maybe Diablo buff,
There
right?
is-
More things on the board makes his AoE better. He scales off the stuff dying. Who knows? There's some options there.
oh, sweet, yeah. So no, this is pretty cool. I mean, definitely goes really only into the Fell deck, right? This is just like how Jaina really only goes into the Frost deck, and Brucon kind of only goes into nature stuff. Archimond, again, kind of similar. It's just another caster that is kind of targeted for that specific archetype. But again, this is what we needed. These are the real steps to be able to actually kind of fill out some of this Fell support. And the numbers, the pure raw numbers on a lot of this Fell stuff that we've gotten is, it seems hard to believe that it wouldn't be playable in some mix and match.
Yeah. And
knows?
also Rathian, as chat points out. Rathian has had this like crazy Fell ability that's never really seen much play. But the reason it hasn't seen much play is because there just haven't been enough other characters to boost Fell damage. Like, you only had Deathwing and Jiraxis. Neither of those were good enough on their own. But now we're seeing quite a bit of stuff to boost Fell damage, so maybe there's a chance. And Rathian did get buffed a little while ago.
Yeah, and imagine having Fell weakness when he does. Was he shoot like 4 or 5 times or
Yeah, it's a
something?
million. Yeah.
So just +5 on that, and that's without crits or something. You know, each wave probably doing at least 10 damage or so. And if it does it like 5 times or something, good 50 AoE to everything without crits 4 times. Yeah, that's still really strong.
Could be huge. That could actually be huge.
Yeah,
I
and
like
then you
it.
could have it.
I like it.
Yeah, just look for setup. Yeah, no, this is cool. Good. I mean, we've seen a lot of Fell support. What is this? The 4th character out of the new drop with Fell?
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, I would say Fell is probably
Okay.
the single most supported tribe in this drop so far.
Yeah, I think that's kind of accurate, because even the characters that aren't all in on Fell at least care about it a little bit. Like Elisa's sister has some Fell abilities. The Draka she doesn't really use Fell herself, but she can boost it. Like, this is exactly what I want to see, is more characters who you can put them in a tribal comp, but they're not locked into being only in that one tribe. Like, it's fine to have a character like we have here, where he's probably only going to see play in Fel, but that shouldn't be all Fel characters, right? Like, it's important, and it also makes these drops have more diversity, because even though we're getting less Mercs than last time, I think last time we got 18 with the event, and this time we're getting 14, this feels like more to me in a way, because I think there are more ways of mixing and matching these mercenaries than the ones we got last drop.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that should lead to more diversity in theory and more interesting comps. Yeah, really cool character. You guys have anything else you want to cover on him, or are we good to move on?
Let's see the next one. And he got 4, right? And so there's 3. Oh, right. It's Khadgar, Medivh, and Korak.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's find the next one. Yeah, here it is, Korak.
Fist of Jaraxxus was always an ability that I wished was better.
Yeah,
So
I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
All good. All right. So I'll do this one. Korak. This was a legendary a few sets ago. I think it was the Barons. He was the honorable kill guy that didn't end up seeing a whole ton of play.
Yeah.
You might notice he has really tiny stats, and there's actually a reason for that. So he has another new thing to Mercenaries where he has a default death rattle, so no equipment required. And this kind of explains his small stats. Death rattle. Destroy a random minion. This Merc returns to life with their health. So
wow, and it just keeps going as long as there are minions to keep going with?
I think so. So some really interesting. Oh yeah, and this could also be insane in
Give it to him. Yeah.
Oh my god, the snake. That would be so funny. The ultimate big snake counter, just like kill this off and then have like a 100 health one. That would be really funny.
Ooh, yeah, and good point. Yeah, PvE, this guy goes crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be really neat. So, first ability, Mounting Anger, 5 speed. Gain +5 attack this turn and attack an enemy. Increases by +3 after use. So you're gaining more attack. Seems strong. Then Eat the Dead, 4 speed. Gain +8 health. Also worth noting he's a troll. So more troll support. Gain +8 health. Health gained increases by +8 each time a character dies. Resets after use. So I guess that just keeps getting bigger. So every time a thing dies, when you use this, it'll give him even more health, but then it goes back to that default 8. And then
so you just kind of like sit there and let it build up over the game, and you just kind of suddenly can just go 4 speed, gain like 30 or something, which is fine.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty decent. Could be a lot of health, especially with a lot of summons around. And then Blood Rage, 6 speed, cooldown 2. Distributes 20 damage to random enemies, increased by this Merc's missing health. That could be kind of nuts, depending on if he's at low health, and that can bump up the damage a lot, especially if, like the thing we were saying with the big snake, you get him to like 100 health, and you're missing 80 or 90 of that health. This becomes 100 damage to all enemies split randomly. That could be kind of cool. Really neat designs here. And then the items. So we have Winter Axe Storm. Mounting Anger increases by an additional +4 attack, so it goes up from +5 to +9 every time. Or no, it goes. You have +5, and then it increases by +7 instead of +3. That's a ton of attack. And then Honor Bound. Eat the Dead only increases when a friendly character dies, but by an extra +12.
Whoa,
so +20 each time.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense.
That's kind of nuts. And then last, the Ever Living Blood Rage gains Death Blow, restore 20 health. So you could heal him back up if he deals like a ton of damage, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, that second equipment seems like the pretty nasty one, as K-Par pointing out, with some Kazakus golems.
Yeah,
just suddenly gaining. It's sitting at +60. It's sitting at +120, and like
dang.
Yeah.
So real quick, if you do him with Blonsandi and then Kazakus, those golems will heal your whole team for 21, and then with that second equipment would be giving him +60 life on that ability then. Yeah. And then Divine Shield golems would be a great, basically just a minion. You could just have to sit back and you can't really kill it too easily. So then he could use that as a summon back into the game.
Yeah, the Death Rattle destroys potentially your own minions as well, right? Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, random. So you can basically just keep like a Divine Shield minion in the back. So hey, he's about to die, it just comes back as that.
This could be really annoying to get rid of.
That's the
Yeah.
dream.
We need a
That's the
silence
design.
effect.
silence.
Still no silence in Mercenaries. Now that we're getting death rattles on base characters, I think that's awesome. We might need a silence at some point, but
I mean, it seems inevitable.
yeah, I mean, it's cool. I love this direction, though. I think this and the battle cry being stapled on a card to begin with is such a good direction for the game to go, because it really opens up that item slot like we were talking about. Like it makes there be a lot more depth rather than, oh, well, his death rattle or his battle cry is the best one. Guess we're never using the other two items.
Yeah, a lot of characters that are basically just getting 2 equipment now, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, no,
cool.
this is cool.
It's neat just
and
seeing...
I like how they're...
Go ahead.
I was just say, yeah, it's really cool seeing his design of like 50. Well, I guess maybe max would be 1160, so that's probably the lowest health mark of the game. But kind of being this squishy character, but who can kind of steamroll if you don't know how to deal with him correctly.
Is Leroy lower? No, Leroy's a little bit more than this, right?
Yeah, he's higher. I think he's
not much though.
67.
Yeah, he's pretty low, but again, with Leroy, it's also very fitting that Leroy's low, and I think it makes a lot of sense here, especially with his design. Leroy is 69 max, 64 on max.
Of course it is.
Nice.
Yeah. Just another great design.
It's cool. Yeah, it's neat to see a character that is specifically designed to be smaller, so he dies more, and benefits from that. So yeah, and I would assume they do reset after he dies, because that is typically how things like that work in Mercenaries. We've seen that with Karen, where his cooldowns and all his other stuff, he's considered a whole new entity after he comes back. So I imagine this one will work the same. But yeah, this is neat. This is another one that's kind of hard to evaluate, I think, until we can play with it more. But I do think it has the potential to be strong and could be very, very good in a potential troll comp with some of the other new characters we've seen.
Mm-hmm. And I think this will be good. I mean, even, say you just wanted to full run, Kazakh's Golem's in. Wasande, you could do like the taunt everything in one turn, so you don't have to worry about him dying before you have other minions on the field. Basically, use Wasande to taunt, and then after that, just roll through with a bunch of health next turn, and then you're healing all the damage that Wasande's taking from the golems hitting and everything.
Yeah.
I think Troll seem like there'd be a good one.
Very, very strong.
That's cool.
Awesome. And I honestly expect it to be even less cool than the next few Mercs, so...
Yeah, oh god, I'm ready.
All right, yeah, we're ready for the Arcane boys. Let's check them out here. Khadgar, you want to take this one, WizardBeast?
Yep. So Khadgar is a 977 stats. He's a caster in Epic. I'm guessing that's human type.
Yeah, it is.
And this is probably unmaxed, so it's probably 1082. And then, he looks like he is passive. At the end of turn, if all 3 of your basic abilities are upgraded, transform into Archmage Khadgar. Archmage Khadgar +1 fire, frost, and arcane damage.
Cool.
Okay, so he basically so another transform. That's just a passive one. That's cool. Arcane Surge, 6 speed, arcane, deal 16 damage. Upgrade Blizzard to root all enemies.
Cool.
Oh, so does each ability upgrade each other? Blizzard,
looks like
5
it.
speed, frost, cooldown 1, deal 14 damage to all enemies, and then upgrades his third ability. Upgrade Hearthfire to grant +5 attack. Hearthfire, 2 speed, fire, give your characters +12 health. Upgrade Arcane Surge to be 2 speed. Okay, so all of these just upgrade each other. That's cool.
Do we know what the cooldown? Presumably Hearthfire has no cooldown?
Yeah, that one doesn't say it. So it looks like first.
So we just got another Yu'lon.
Yeah, basically, right?
But this can be used in. Well, I guess Yu'lon was already in fire, but like still, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, that's And then let's see what his equipment does. Baking bacon. Start of game. Oh, so new start of game. Upgrade Hearthfire. Khadgar gains +8 health. Oh, so it's you instantly upgrade that ability.
Yeah.
So it gets the upgrade from Blizzard, so then it's +5 attack for all your characters. So start of the game, you could use that ability, give everyone +5, +12.
That's pretty nuts.
Wow.
That's pretty nuts. So better Yulon. Fire creep.
Second one, Bitter Chill. Another start of game. Upgrade Blizzard and it refreshes 1. Oh, so you could use it turn 1 and then it roots.
That's going to be really, really good.
AoE root. Dang.
Yeah, we've already seen how strong root
Yeah, 5
is
speed's fast enough, I would say.
without damage with Elise. The fact that you're getting damage, and yeah, that's really good.
And the last one, Boon of Atishi.
Atesh or Atesh. It's the
Yeah,
legendary weapon.
Yeah, the weapon. Archmage Khadgar has an extra +3 fire, frost, and arcane damage, so it becomes +4.
Yeah,
Does Archmage Khadgar get new abilities when he evolves?
I don't
just the
think
transform.
So they just get the bonus effect of each upgraded one.
That's what I was wondering. So would they all just become permanently upgraded? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they should be.
So basically, you evolve him.
You upgrade them all, and then when all three are upgraded,
have all of the upgraded abilities.
So it'll all basically be all upgrade permanently. So yeah, is the upgrades all permanent then, right?
Yeah, they should be. Okay. They wouldn't go back to non-upgraded, I don't think. That'd be weird.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Dang, that seems cool. So Arcane Frost Fire mix. So again,
that's sick.
Another Merc that's kind of like pointed like Belinda and stuff. You know, she's been in so many comps, and this
better Belinda. This is way more versatile. I mean, you can again, and those are all 3 powerful spell schools: Frost, Arcane, and Fire. I mean, how long has it been since we've got a character that can go in a Frost comp? It's been a really long time. I think it's been since Belinda. Yeah, because Local was the first, and Frost has been sitting at 4 for a while. So that's a little terrifying, but cool nonetheless.
Turn 1 AoE root.
And you can.
Yeah, I think that's the best play pattern. Probably is like you take the Bitter Chill equipment. So your turn 1 is just root everything.
Yeah, that punishes a lot of stuff.
Super fast. You heal and pump everyone on turn 2. So you get to survive as best as possible, and then you have a crazy cookie snipe on turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the design of this a lot in terms of, so you can either upgrade one of your abilities with some of the equipment, so you can actually get the transformation faster, or if you're willing to take a little bit longer to get the transformation becomes way bigger of a payoff, going from +1 to +4. So that's really cool. I think that's a neat way, and I really like the upgrading your abilities like that. This is another example of how these characters have a lot more depth than we're used to seeing in 3 abilities in Mercs. Like, this is kind of like 6 abilities in a way. I mean, they're not super different. They're just getting better, but it still adds like a lot of depth to what you can do with each ability, because now you're not just AoEing them, you're also pumping up your team, and maybe your other humans or other attackers care about that. And it's really cool. I also really like that they're adding a root like this, because a root, I think, makes for some really interesting scenarios and mind games where it's like, if you mess up the prediction into a root, it's like action denial, which we all know how backbreaking that can be. But it can also like incentivize like playing around it, or some mind games where, well, they think I'm going to root, so maybe I don't even have to root because they're going to use a different ability to play around the root.
Yeah, no, God, I'm loving these designs for this drop.
Yeah, they're just sick. Like, this is, and the characters selected are also awesome. Like, it's just been a very, very good selection of very iconic characters. And the one thing I will say that I am surprised by is no Denathrius. I was pretty sure we were going to get Denathrius or Prince, and so now I'm thinking that Denathrius is going to be our event. Like, it just it makes too much sense. Maybe we'll see that in the patch notes, but it's possible that could be a little bit further out. But I imagine, given we didn't get an event in September, we're probably going to do an October event. Because it would just make sense. They've been trying to do them roughly once a month. They haven't exactly hit that, but they've been pretty close to it, I think. Like, what we're in September. I think we've had like 7 events, or no, how many has it been this year? We had all 4 old gods, right? And then Leroy was the beginning of this year. Was Shiji too? I don't remember when
Chi-Chi
these
was
came
also.
out.
I think
Yeah.
all of them have been, right? Because it was
Chi-Chi, Leroy, and then the old gods, right? I'm not forgetting
Yeah.
any.
Is there one more? I feel like there was one more.
So there've been six events over 9 months. So not exactly once a month, like more like 1.5 months for an event. Either way, we should probably be due for one. So I would expect, especially if the bounties are themed to the new expansion, I would imagine that we're going to get Denathrius at some point, given that he is the other really iconic legendary of the recent set, much like Murloc Holmes. And I guess it kind of makes sense because he would definitely be a legendary. So I would love to see a diamond for him too. That would be very, very cool. Yeah. And also, I would love to see Gen eventually. Gen would be really cool, so we could have Gen and Baku caring about odd and even. That would make me really, really happy because I love those characters. He's sweet. Khadgar's sweet, and I think this definitely is this could help Arcane quite a bit potentially. Right?
Yep.
So that's cool. But I think the bigger help to Arcane is going to be, and I think this is our last mercenary to cover here, Medivh. So
there we go.
Our final legendary. This is another one that changed from the initial. I believe when his image was like leaked out at the start of Mercenaries, he was a blue, but now he's a red, and he is also a human protector. I believe these aren't max, so he'd be 1186 max. And obviously he focuses on Arcane. So first ability, Arcane Rift. 5 speed, Arcane, deal 12 damage. Your next Arcane ability this turn deals critical damage. That's sweet. So just making Arcane units that much better for hitting opposing units. And we have Mage Guard, 3 speed, Arcane. Give a friendly character plus 15 health and taunt this turn. After it is attacked this turn, it gains plus 3 arcane damage. Kind of a defensive, building up the spell power there. Then we have Summon Raven Familiar. 6 speed, cooldown 1. Summon a Raven Familiar with spell resistance plus 10 and Birds of Feather ability. Birds of Feather does deal 8 damage, increased by 5 when you use another arcane ability. That's probably just the attack that the bird has. But 10 spell resistance is a ton. We've seen that with the Cho summon. Really, really hard for AoE to get rid of it. So that's pretty cool. I like it. Imagine stacking that with Cho or something else too. Like maybe the bird never goes away. I don't think we have the stats on the bird though, so we'll have to see how big it is. Then we have his items. Unstable Runes. Summon a 0/10 arcane ward with counter the first ability used each turn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so that's good if you're slow, right? Because you can counter yourself, I'm guessing?
Yeah, okay. I believe with the wording you can counter yourself, so you want to be mindful of the speeds here. But again, with something like Cho, with something like Nemzy's summon, damage resist or extra health could be really, really nuts with this, especially on a team that's more focused on being slow. Then the other ability, or the other items, Medivh's Locket. After you summon a minion, give it plus 4 arcane damage. Wow, okay. That's a lot of arcane damage with all these summons.
Jeez, yeah.
And then Staff of Atesh. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong again.
Do they both have... Is that a flavor thing where Khadgar and Medivh both have Atesh?
I believe so. I believe it was originally Medivh's staff, and then Khadgar got it later.
When Medivh died, he ended up passing it to Khadgar.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I remember in the adventure where we got Medivh as a card, he equipped the weapon, and it was the first legendary weapon in Hearthstone. So that was kind of cool. But start of game, give friendly casters plus 5, plus 10. That's an insane ability, especially for Arcane. That's insane.
Okay. And again, same thing. It's like a cookie buff, presumably. So it does apply to your bench, you'd have to imagine.
Yeah, no, it should apply to all your casters because start of game. That is a huge, huge, huge buff. And think about how caster heavy Arcane is. That's that's
pumping Maestro. That's a cool point.
Oh my god, it pumps Maestro. Jesus.
Dang, I'm still good at that first ability too, because that's 5 speed, and that combos with Tyrande.
And combos with Blink Fox too. Think about that bigger damage Blink Fox. Blink Fox is hitting like a truck right now.
Yeah. So yeah, Blink, Tyrande repeats, because then she crits on everything with repeats too. Like you could easily get board wipes with that, and then yeah, Blink Fox just solo kill something basically.
Yeah,
wow.
this is kind of crazy.
Starter, here we go.
We didn't have a red arcane unit either, right?
Nope.
So
just green and blues.
True. Yeah, the good color too.
He fills in. He's basically like the Finley for arcane. Like he fills in the missing piece of the puzzle and he's like a really really good addition. Yeah, Tyrande openers maybe we'll no longer be seeing arcane be forced into being a bench with Longjin and Tyrande. So that's really sick.
You could do like Medivh, Tyrande, and then like a Reno heavy defense. So you could just make sure none of them get hit, and then just have, because Medivh Tyrande can easily do enough damage themselves.
True. I'm really still caught up on the counter, the first ability used each turn.
Yeah.
Like
passive, presumably on the summon.
Yeah,
right? So
it's a passive on the summon.
Anything. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Counter the first one somebody.
It's like
dies.
Okani in standard, where it's just like boom, instead of counter a minion, counter a spell, counter the first ability.
Wow.
What is better than action denial? Not a lot. Like there really isn't a lot that is better than action denial.
Well, now you can start picking up Medivh with Bonsomdi and stuff and resetting.
Yeah, it's a battle cry, right? So that's kind of crazy. You can keep getting it back. You can protect it. You can give it more health. Like I loved the memes of trying to protect the protection totem from Bane, but this is a whole lot more important to protect. Like, and you have to build your team around it, right? Like you can't be being the fastest player on the field with this, or you're just going to counter yourself.
Fine with, because most of the time, they're 5 or slower for a lot of their abilities. And so that right there is literally like a double counter in a way, because it's going to most likely counter your bonus first ability, and then they're going to want to kill it, so they might have to throw a second ability at it on turn 1.
That's nuts. Like that. Wow. And that just leaves your other characters to start setting up their I assume, I don't know if Summon Raven is arcane, because a lot of the times the summons don't get a spell school.
Both of Blinda's did.
With in terms of like a spell that summons something, I think most.
Not the battle cry summons for like the Raven, because one of his abilities is summon the Raven. Mm-hmm. So like,
well, wait, isn't he talking the Raven's ability? I think that he.
Okay.
Raven's ability is arcane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that should probably be arcane. Yeah. Yes. I misunderstood. Yeah, so Raven is probably arcane, especially given it has increased by 5 when you use another arcane. It would make a lot of sense for it to be arcane. And then you know who else is arcane that nobody ever remembers is not Belinda, the Queen Ashara. Her first ability is arcane. She's not usually using it a lot because you usually don't see her as a lead, but that's also arcane. And she can... So I could see something really cool here where you do like Medivh, Khadgar, and her, and then her ability to just plus your gain spell damage for everything, combining that with Khadgar and Medivh could be kind of nuts.
Dang. I don't even know what I'm gonna go for. Like now,
me neither.
I'm like, I'm debating between arcane or trolls, because I really, really like Bonsomdi too. But
trolls are going to be really cool. I think trolls are going to be a super neat way to go. And then that's just like thinking about like new comps that haven't existed before. You've got to imagine a lot of our old comps, like they're gonna change and adapt to some of these new characters, given like the power level here is really, really high. It feels like I don't. It's hard to like.
But it's high and like tricky. It's not like high just like the damage is huge. It's like high if you're nuts. Like if you're good, then the characters get better, and that's definitely something.
It's better than just Valera, where you're faster than everyone. You're dealing a lot of damage. You're avoiding taunt and targeting. I like there's a lot of depth to all this stuff, and it doesn't feel like it's just like there's just. Most of these characters, I haven't seen one ability where I'm like, oh yeah, you're just gonna spam that every turn. Like there's good reason to use a lot of different abilities here, and they combo with each other and other characters. And I think this is really going to potentially be the biggest shakeup we've ever seen to the meta.
Yeah, I don't think Valeera would do anything against this because you're most likely countering the ability before Valeera, so then she also doesn't get her speed.
And then she
And then
doesn't even get to
she's
hit
hitting
one
the
of your
ward.
guys. Yeah, she gets
Yeah,
to
so
hit
they're-
the ward.
Yeah, so if you do like Trigor gets countered, Valeera hits this. Only thing that's hitting is Nefarian, and you don't get like the damage from the Trigor hits on him. So you have Nefarian, and then
And you
have
don't get
Medivh.
stealth.
Yeah, you have none of that. And then like if you really want to target 3 speed, give taunt, and health and everything, and then it's also gaining a bunch of arcane damage too. That I
Yeah.
think, this type of comp would just roll. I think Valeera stuff.
I want to see the. I really
Get the
want to see
runes?
the skins for Medivh.
Oh
He's
yeah,
got to have some cool ones.
he's got to have one where he's in a bird. I'm guessing.
Oh,
That's,
that'd
like,
be neat.
known
He's
for
gonna have a
Necro form.
diamond because he's
Yeah,
so.
diamond bird,
What
maybe.
are our
Yeah.
legendaries? We have Medivh, we have Murloc Holmes, we have Ysera. What was the
And the
fourth
troll.
one?
The troll.
Alright.
So that's probably
Oh,
the
he's the
standard,
fourth one. He's
diamond.
he's gonna have the standard diamond for sure. Okay, cool. I like that. I like that. The skins have already been very, very, very good. That start of the game is terrifying, by the way.
Mhm.
Like with how good casters have been for like a while. That start of the game is legitimately terrifying, especially with
Oh, Sky Emerald Rogers,
Maestra.
too, is another sick one.
Like and also human, another human.
Ooh.
Human
We got a
tribal
lot of
stuff.
humans.
We did, and I love to see it. The humans are really neat because they've never had a ton of like support in their own tribe, but they happen to like work with each other really well a lot of the time. And I think that's kind of a neat approach to a tribe where it's like so many of the other tribes they care about the other tribe, but the humans it's like, well, most of the time we don't care that you are a human, but they happen to interact better with the other humans. I think that's kind of a neat way to do it.
Yeah, we got 4 humans in this drop.
Yeah, that's a ton. 4 out of 14. That's a huge amount. I think they just nailed giving support to pretty much everything that I wanted to see get support. I think the only tribe that I think is a little left out here are the orcs. Though they did get, I think we got one orc.
Corona, yeah.
But she seems like she's more like multifaceted and can work with a lot of other tribes. So
They kind of did like the
Nero's also orc too.
oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
so
You're right. So
kinda
2
did
orcs. Sorry, 2 orcs.
And wait, so Garona, Neru.
No beasts. That's true. No beasts.
Yeah.
Even nature honestly didn't get like a ton. Like Ysera's nice, Nemzy is cool, but probably doesn't necessarily need to go into the nature stuff. But I think
I think
some
it
of the, like,
could.
the Nemzy,
So I think you could
Taunt stuff was
throw.
cool.
I mean, it's so hard to say. It's so hard to like to theory craft some of this stuff because we can't just be like, oh, how would this work in the current metagame that we're seeing? Because it's gonna change. Like think about back to when we had, and we get a little bit of a PTSD flashback here from the Trigor meta. Think about how we looked at those mercs, and I remember at the time a lot of people were looking at the new mercs and were like, I don't know if this is really going to change things very much. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the stuff that was OP from before was still OP, but the meta changed drastically from the new characters, and then even more with the old gods and whatnot. And that was when a lot of people weren't really sure about if the characters were going to make that much of an impact. So I think this is going to have potentially an even bigger impact. And
I think
we did know about Trigor day one. Like, he was obvious when they buffed him, he was going to be busted as hell.
Yeah, I for me, I think this is the best drop so far. At least style and design wise and everything, I love all of these designs they do. And like, as we were saying, like compare it back to 21 Mercs, a couple months ago, about a year now, and just to look at the text, like now some characters have passives, death rattles, battle cries. A lot of these characters have like 4, 5, 6 abilities on some of them. Like it is insane to see the design process and just how they've grown it basically through the game. So I'm really stoked, and we still got patch notes in 3.5 hours with all the bounties, whatever the mysterious thing is, and most
still
likely
really
an
curious about
event.
that one.
Yeah, and I mean, you never know. They could sneak a event announcement in there, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to save the event for near the end of October when they do the 0.6 patch, because it kind of makes sense to do the little 1-2 punch of, hey, not only are we finally fixing the thing you've been asking us to fix for a year with extra coins, then they can be like, boom, have an event on top of it to get more people to and chat's saying it here, and I think it's so true. We got less mercenaries than last time, but it feels like we got more because the depth to them is so much more. Like, there were some of the mercs last time that really weren't all that playable, and then we had other issues where some of the characters were bugged on release, like Bran, where he took a little while to get sorted, so even though he seemed decent, we couldn't actually make use of him really for a while. Hopefully there's less of that this time around, although looking at all these abilities, I'm going to take a wild guess and say there are going to be some random bugs in here, because this is way more complicated stuff. Do we know what the excess coin change is going to be? Not yet, but
we have some more info, but not true details
so
necessarily.
We have a pretty good idea. I think this is worth talking about, right? Because this was announced before or after our last show. So with the excess coin stuff, they basically said it's coming in 0.6. They gave a rough date for that, late October, early November, so probably about a month after the patch tomorrow, roughly, give or take. And they said there's going to be a new resource. Now, if you've been around here for a while, you know we've talked about the idea of this for a while. They need to add another resource to Endgame, because you can't make the Endgame revolve around the fact that you have a mostly maxed out collection and then give people coins, because they don't need coins if they're mostly maxed out. So we've been talking about this for a while, where felt like they need to add another resource for the end game, and it seems that is what they're going to do. They basically said in the thing they put out, they said, we're adding this new resource. And if you recall from the earlier post they made about extra coins a while ago, when they announced we were getting a conversion, they were like, well, how it's going to work is there's going to be a way where you can convert your extra coins into coins for mercenaries you have that are not yet maxed. And now they gave us a little bit more information, but still not a whole ton. But we know there's this extra resource. So you're going to take your extra coins. It's going to be converted into this new resource. There's probably going to be a new addition to the campfire or something that gives you a thing to do that. And we don't know anything about conversion rate, or if rares are going to be less than epics and legendaries, and don't know anything about that stuff. What we do know is it's going to convert into this new resource, and then that new resource is going to have two purposes. So one of those purposes is you can convert it into coins that you do not have for max characters. Now, I don't think that's going to be targeted. It sounded like it was going to be random. So that gives you a bit of incentive to actually max out a lot of the characters. If you're like close and you don't want to convert coins into them, just max it out, get it off the list, so you're only getting the ones you want. But it's also going to be used for the PvE endgame, and we don't have any information about that aside from the fact that it is coming early next year. Looking at the release cycle stuff, the mini set usually comes around February, since the main set drops in December, and since Merc stuff is 0.4, probably going to get the next Merc drop sometime in February, and that's probably when they're going to do the PvE endgame. Now, that could change, never know, but it seems like they were pretty on track with what they told us this time, where they announced that this was coming. Now we have like a definitive time for it. So, and they haven't said anything about the endgame being pushed back anymore. So I would kind of expect that we're going to get endgame and another use for extra coins in February. So, and it's going to be a month anyway, right? So the hardcore grinders here are going to probably, like, I'm going to be, I can already bet I'm going to be done maxing out these characters before we get the fix, because I'm sitting on like over 200 packs. Like, I know many people here, we've been saving those packs. I've been saving them for 4 months. So it adds up. And not only that, but you get more packs with the new characters, right? We get 14 new mercenaries. So that's going to be 42 packs. So even if you don't have any packs, that can kind of, completing tasks for characters that you haven't finished yet, or the new characters, can kind of help you along there. Yeah, 330 packs, jeez.
it feels like right now when you know that the excess coins fix is coming, it doesn't feel as miserable now to potentially rip all these packs right now that you're going to open. Go do a bunch of random bounties, go do a bunch of random just tasks to be able to
it'll help you later, right? And even if it doesn't help you in the short term, like even if you are someone who's in like the top 1% or the hardcore player who does max most of their stuff before the drop or before the fix comes, it's still, one, you have it for the next drop, and two, that means maybe it's going to be even better because you get to wait and see if maybe you're a PvE player. Maybe you care more about having that resource to use in endgame PvE grinding. That's still a big mystery. So that's something where we can see, you can kind of wait and see. And the biggest thing about it is this solves a very, very big issue with packs. I mean, we still have to wait to see exactly how the conversion works, but the fact that you're opening a pack and you get 3 stacks of Cariol coins, that bad feeling that you get from that should in theory go down a lot, because now it's more like a standard pack. Now it's, well, yeah, I already had all these commons, but these commons can be used to help get a thing I actually want or level up a character I haven't leveled up yet, as opposed to this character I have 35,000 coins for or something. So that makes a huge difference. Now, I do still wish there was a better pity timer for legendaries. I think that's still been the one sore spot of the pack opening experience that could be improved. And the big one that's always bothered me as a skin collector is they need to make it so skins roll differently, like so it rolls a legendary you don't have rather than rolling a character, and then if you have all the skins for that character you get coins, because even exchanging those coins isn't going to feel good unless there's some way to get a skin, which I really doubt, because typically they save those cosmetics for, like we've seen in the other modes, more like bundles, and you can get them from packs, but especially the legendaries are just so rare that you don't end up seeing them all that often, and especially diamonds at that, right? Which are even more rare. So still far from perfect, but we're finally taking the steps in the right direction, and I think the excess coin fix alone has the potential to really kind of be a bit of a renaissance for the mode, because you're going to have people who probably grinded hard at launch, burnt out, quit, whatever. They probably are sitting on quite a few Cariol or Rokara coins. So the fact
that's probably how they'll have to balance it, is like it will not be around you
at
the top.
It better not be.
Started, left, and if that player can come back and just build even like 3 mercs from whatever they had from the beginning, if we could probably figure out like kind of a close estimation of what that number would kind of have to be to figure out a conversion rate, because that's the player base that they want to like yoink back in, is the players who started and stopped but have some resources sitting there. If those ones can hop right back in, I think that's the dream. And so that's where I would start looking at some of the numbers.
Yeah, because they can't balance around us, like, because if they did, it wouldn't work for the majority of the player base, and at that point, why would they even do it? Like, they're not trying to appeal to the people who have already hardcore grinded their game, right? Like that at least, I mean, they are in a way by giving us like these deep characters and stuff, but that's not what they're going for with this extra coin thing. You have to imagine they're trying to appeal to the bigger Hearthstone player base and say, hey, maybe it's time to give this another shot. We finally fixed the thing that everyone was rightfully complaining about a ton ever since launch.
Yeah. I mean, is there even a chance where the PvE mode literally doesn't even have to use the mercenaries that we have? Like, I think this is something
what do you mean?
I don't even think we talked about it on a different episode or anything, but I don't know why I have always been assuming that the PvE mode was going to use our mercenaries and was going to use like something similar to a bounty system. Neither of those are true by any means necessarily. It could be something way different, which could, to me, widens the spectrum of what I would care about for PvE. But imagine if they are looking at these resources as like, you can make your mercenaries sicker, or you can do this other thing. If nothing says that other thing has to use our mercenaries. If it kind of gives those re-entering players a choice, it could be a draft kind of system, right? Where it doesn't depend on what mercenaries you already have. It could be about
Mhm.
unlocking other ones, or like that you get these choices of mercs to use, and then you use this resource to unlock or level up those for a temporary run. It could be something it doesn't have to do with mercenaries at all. Like I am just, I have a rejuvenated sense of curiosity about this PvE mode, and I kind of hope that this mysterious zone that they give us in the patch notes, or like that we'll learn later today about, I kind of hope that that's the lobby for the PvE mode, and that it might introduce some of just either hints or allusions to the coins fix, or just kind of like a zone that has a big wall behind it that is closed until February or something, right? And like I think the sky's the limit, and I was very sure that it wasn't the limit before, and so now I'm more excited to hear whatever this PvE mode could be.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
those are neat ideas. I think it's unlikely you're not going to have to use your collection, because they've literally said before the end game is going to be designed around making
People-
use of your full collection. And like when they
But is
hint,
that making use of the fact that the people who have full collections now can do something with their excess?
well,
It still
it could be. You're right, but I think the idea is right now, right? Like I'm a player who has
PvP.
the full everything, right? So even if I enjoyed the PvE a ton, there's no point, right? Like that you play PvE to beat the bosses and the heroics and get your coins. Those are the reasons you play it. Well, I've beaten the bosses, I've gotten my coins, but I'd like to be able to do stuff in PvE and have fun with it and be challenged, but it just doesn't exist right now. And this could help with a very big problem in the mode that we were kind of seeing in the last month or so, where even though generally I think the last meta was one of the better ones and more interesting ones we've had in Mercenaries, it just at a certain point gets figured out for the most part, and you stop being able to innovate. And this isn't a Mercenaries unique problem. The same thing happened in regular Hearthstone. It's kind of why they started doing mini sets, right? Because 4 months between card releases is a long time, and eventually the meta stagnates and people get less interested. So having a endgame system where if, let's say, PvP, it's been figured out, we're 3 months into it, we're 1 month away from the next drop, and most of the top tier comps are figured out and whatnot, whether it's fun or whether it's not fun, it still can get a little stale after that long a period of time. Well, it'd be great if I could just say, hey, let me just go jam all these maxed out characters I have in the PvE experience. Like, I'd love to have a reason to create content around PvE that's actually challenging and interesting and more like a roguelike, like they promised when the game came out. Because I don't really feel like that is an actual part of Mercenaries, is a roguelike experience. That just doesn't mesh with me in the current form. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, I have a whole little video planned about that where I'm going to compare it to Slay the Spire, and it's going to show you this game is not a roguelike in its current form. So I would love if they could fix that and get, like, if I could just have a reason to not, like, even though PvP will probably always be my main focus because it's what I like the most, I would love to be able to do PvE content that myself and viewers also enjoy and find entertaining.
Yeah, I think like that would be the main thing is, have first of all just the content's enjoyable so you can go through the PvE, but they definitely have to have some rewards attached to it that are worth the time too. Like I figure that's a big thing. Like, hey, if it's fun, I would definitely play it, but what keeps people playing it would be having great rewards attached to it, I think. So they just got to make sure they have both ends of that. But the other thing I was going to mention real quick too is about skins and stuff. This might be the first time that we actually get a bundle of just skins for certain characters that's not in packs, maybe. Because there was that.
Oh yeah,
I
they
think it was
mentioned something like
the
that,
Reno
right?
yeah, there was like a Reno and I think it was Reno brand and Elise pack or something where it's special skins. So it might be the first time of cosmetic only bundle that you can maybe only get from the shop. So, if they're starting to introduce that and kind of see how it does, that means, I think Mercs is getting even more support. And if they start kind of, doing that and seeing the designs that they've been doing recently with all of these Mercs, I definitely say it's going up. And yeah, just got to wait for coin exchange. And then after that, be the big PvE drop. So seems like we're just going up and up.
Yeah, it seems like we're finally hitting the stride a little bit where there's a lot of potential. I mean, by far, we've been here since the start. No other drop has come close to this in terms of depth. It's not even remotely close. So this gets me excited because that was one of the things I was kind of worried about was, I love the game, but how much can they keep iterating on these 3 skill, 3 item with designs before they start like getting limited by what they can do? And especially power creep has also brought that into question where if Mercs are dying on turn 1, how do you power creep that? Like, you really can't. Have your character suddenly kill their bench too? Like, you can't get more powerful than a turn 1 kill, right? Especially like we've seen with the Asheraj, where versus some comps you can almost full wipe on turn 1. Like, you literally can't power creep that. So that kind of puts the thought in of, well, where do you go from here? And I think this is showing that they're realizing if we introduce a lot more depth to these abilities, you can still have very powerful and interesting synergies without necessarily just dealing the most damage or being the fastest. Like, nothing here that I've seen so far screams Valera or Trigor to me, where it's just generically powerful, it's going to slot into everything, and it's just going to be good versus everything. Now, could that happen? For sure. It's very possible that could happen. But at least just, I think when a lot of us saw Valera and a lot of us saw Trigor, it was, maybe we didn't know the full ramifications of it, but I think it was very easy to see that those characters were going to be meta warping. And Reno's a great example because I know, especially you, Mullahoo, we're not Reno's biggest fan. And obviously he did get buffed a little bit. But like, Reno's a character that I think all of us were kind of low on when he got revealed. And he's one of the most played characters from the last drop and has had a huge impact on the meta, being one of the best defensive characters in the game. So that just goes to show, you don't always know how good or bad some of these characters are going to be on reveal. But I do think none of these characters just strike me as like flat unplayable. Like, there were a few last time around where it was just like some of the weaker Nagas, they were just so kind of specific and niche, and it didn't feel like they were doing something powerful enough outside of just being an extra Naga for the Naga comp or something like that. And I really don't feel the same way about seeing all these characters. Less feels like more because of the depth. Like, I'd rather get less characters that are this deep than more characters that are simpler.
For sure. Especially when you have to like physically open them and then physically grind them. Like, more is not better by any means in Mercenaries. So
that's another good point. Less grinding, right? Like, it can be kind of daunting to have to grind up almost 20 Mercenaries now. 14's not a tiny amount, but given the spacing between releases, I think it's good to have a decent sized drop because the game doesn't expect you to grind them all immediately. And just because there are some people like me who are going to do that, they can't balance around that. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, they want this content to last 3-4 months. And I'm sure for a lot of people it actually does. The people who take it more casually, I mean, I'm sure there are a bunch of people who don't even engage with the deeper community of it at all, right? Like, we know that's the case in Hearthstone. I'm sure there are a bunch of mobile gamers out there who just, I can't tell you how many times I've read the comment of, I got into Mercenaries because I can play the PvE at my own pace. And if I'm doing something else, like if I have to pause to take a work call or go do something with my kid or whatever the long list is, right? There's no pressure like in a Hearthstone game where the rope starts burning, right? No, you could just leave it, come back to it, and you're fine. So there really is a lot of strength in PvE. It's just, I think PvE has been very much lacking its full potential, and I'm hoping we can see that potential be realized when we get the end game system.
Yeah, no, I think, basically that's kind of the next goal we got. Well, coins coming up soon, but I think the next big goal is the PvE system. And, I hope it all turns out well and they do it right. The main thing that will kind of set that up, and I think we'll see the way we're going, is the coins and how the exchange works and everything. So we'll just have to kind of see from there.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, and I think they know this. I'd be very surprised if they don't know this. You can't really afford to whiff on the PV or the coin exchange. You really can't afford to do that because, especially when it's taken, it will have been over a year since release, since we're coming up to that anniversary on the 12th, just 2-ish weeks away. You can't afford to screw up on launch of a feature that you've been telling people has been coming and has been the most requested feature for over a year. And I think they've got to realize that. And that's probably why it's taken long, because they know they can't pull a launch Mercenaries again and, have it be undone or incomplete or not the best it can be, like we saw with the Mysterious Mysterious Stranger. That's it. Yeah, it's been so long since I've got one. Yeah. But we can't see them like mess up the coin thing and then fix it like a month or two later, because that memory will stick. People aren't going to give it another chance if the initial one flops like that. And I think they're smart enough to have realized that, and that's probably why it's taken so long, because they've probably gone through a lot of iterations of it and seen what works, what doesn't work, and whatnot. So I'm hopeful about it, but we'll see. We know it's not far away. Only got about a month-ish to go before that, and we'll have plenty of stuff to keep us busy in the meantime, with 19 new bounties, 14 new mercenaries, maybe a new event popping in there along the way. It's a lot of content. It's a great time to be a Mercenaries player, and yeah, I hope everyone's excited. Looking at the chat, it seems like it's just been a great day for reveals again. Definitely got to say, huge shout out to Alkali and the rest of the community team, who really put a ton of work into making all these reveals and everything happen. And I think it's just been such a positively received thing by the community that I would not be surprised at all if it happens again, if we get some more other content creators involved with it. And that's just generally good for the mode. So really excited for all that stuff. And we don't have to wait long at all. Tomorrow, boom. Yeah. Like, we get to go hands-on. Yep. We'll do maybe a little bit of theory crafting tonight, read the patch notes, and then boom. We get to just try it all out tomorrow. So it's nice not having to wait a week, 2 weeks, all that stuff. It's going to be fantastic. I know I'm going to be ramping up the streams, probably going to be streaming every day this week. Probably PvP stuff about every day too, hopefully. And I can't wait. It's been a while. I've taken most of this month off of doing PvP and Mercenaries. I think I'm like 1200 rating or something. Like, I've played like 5 games or something. So I'm excited to dive back into it, brush off the rustiness and check out these new characters. And I hope all of you are too. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Super long podcast episode this time, about 3 hours, which is crazy. So I have to go edit this, and it's popping up on YouTube, other platforms later today. But if you stuck with us this long, if you're watching on one of those other platforms, do remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Really shows that this kind of thing is, wanted, appreciated, and it shows that hopefully they'll do more reveal stuff in the future. Really looking forward to all of that stuff. And again, we will be coming back for patch notes. I think Mullahoo's a little bit busy tonight, but WizardBeast is probably going to be joining me a little bit later in about 3 hours or so. So we'll be back then. I'm going to go edit this and whatnot. But do you guys have any final parting words before we sign off?
I think my only final parting word is, like, real quick, let's just get like everybody in the chat and us, like, what is the Merc that we're kind of most excited for? Like,
okay.
Who is your favorite of the whole drop?
Good end question.
I'll just start, and honestly, I'm still gonna go with the one that I'm hoping to open the most is Ysera. I think I want to just try to revitalize nature. I'm glad that it was part of the reveal that we got. I'm curious to see how just bouncing things back goes. It's honestly, it got outshined in terms of complexity and even power level potentially with some of the other ones. But I'm gonna go for Team Nature House all the way.
I like it. For me, I'd have to say it's probably Blonsomdy still. He's just, overall, I just love his kid and his theme and everything. Close second, I would say, is Medivh, though. I'm ready to have an Arcane opener. So I'm definitely going to be messing around with some Trolls and Arcane comps day one. But yeah, I just love both of their designs.
Yeah, I think Tess is probably my, especially as like the free to play side of everything too. I'll put Tess as my honorable mention. I'm super stoked to steal abilities. I'm super stoked to play with some Blink Foxes again potentially. I'll definitely give my honorable mention to Tess.
Yeah, Tess is probably gonna be my pick. Tess and Gen, the two Greymanes. I'm super pumped. Just the depth of Tess is awesome. Also more human support, and then Gen. I mean, even Shaman's what got me my 12 win run in the Baralysium. I've been playing a lot of that. He's just a super iconic character, and I love the kind of way the transform ability works and how it gives us a lot of different options. But so those are probably my two. Tess and Gen are probably what I'm going to be gunning for first. But yeah,
Nemzy love in there. Yep, yeah, Nemzy's exciting for sure.
Yeah, Nemzy, demons, a lot of Tess.
Any demon gamer is absolutely stoked. Yeah, if you were waiting, now is your time.
Oh yeah, and that's what's so cool about this drop is there's so many neat ones that answer is going to be different for a lot of different people, right? There's a little bit of something for everybody. So I really like that. I can't wait to see what cool stuff people come up with in PvP and PvE and try out some of these new characters. And tomorrow, boom, 1 p.m. EST, be there. Open all those stored packs and join the Discord too. Let me see.
Hop on a Discord.
I think I have a Discord
us
command
on like Twitter or the Discord or anything like that. Anytime you make a deck that you kind of think that we've talked about one of our reveals, right? If anybody ever builds something sick with Ysera or Gen or Bonsamdi or Murloc Holmes, again, definitely tag us. Let us know. We'd love to see them.
Yeah, it would be awesome, and it's a great time. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in. It's been absolutely crazy stream reveal, all that stuff. Looking forward to seeing all of you later this week and maybe even later tonight for the patch notes. But yeah, appreciate everyone hanging out for today. That is going to do it though for episode 32 of the Fighting Pit podcast. We want to thank everyone for hanging out, and we will catch you in the next one.
GG's, guys. Thank you very much.
See you guys. Thanks for joining.